Vol 2, Chapter 1024, The Second Artifact. Zirakus bowed to Darth Marthael without any pretense, then gestured invitingly towards the cabin. His elegant voice resonated directly in Darth Marthael's mind. Mighty and esteemed Lord of Darkness, after extensive research and comparison, we have approximately determined the location of the second artifact. Darth Marthael nodded in acknowledgement and followed Zirakus into the cabin of the Protoss transport plane, taking a seat. The Protoss, due to their sparse population, heavily rely on artificial intelligence and automation technology to pilot their transport planes. Unlike the universe of Star Wars, the Protoss exercise extreme caution with artificial intelligence. They equip these AIs with high computational power and the ability to process responses in various scenarios swiftly, but they strictly prohibit any form of consciousness within them. Protoss communication does not require spoken language, resulting in their robots lacking the ability to communicate verbally with other beings. Instead, Protoss robots utilize a machine language that can convey vast amounts of information in just a few syllables, a feature somewhat reminiscent of the robots from Star Wars. Only in dire situations do the Protoss fully harness their considerable intellect towards artificial intelligence, as seen in the Purifier plan. This plan involves merging the consciousness of Protoss Templars with artificial intelligence, a technology also present in their motherships, but considered by Tang Xiao as one of the most perilous, seldom to be activated due to its astronomical cost and the necessity of collaboration with Protoss scientists. The transport aircraft had been evidently modified for comfort and spaciousness, a fact Zirakus pointed out. I hope you don't mind, mighty and dark lord. Although you have granted us access to the Protoss think tank, our current capabilities only allow us to manufacture this relatively simple, automated aircraft. It was initially designed for quickly deploying our valiant frontline warriors, so comfort was not a primary concern. Tang Xiao, not rushing to the main topic, engaged in casual conversation. It seems your collaboration with the Geth is progressing well, enabling you to construct a spaceship of 60-meter class so swiftly. I must caution you again that the Geth are a highly dangerous entity, beyond anyone's control. You cannot truly command them, Zirakus warned. Nevertheless, our partnership has indeed been fruitful. With their assistance, we've established an automated factory on the far side of the Dre 2 satellite. Curious, Darth Marthael inquired, what are you currently producing? Zirakus replied, our production mainly consists of mechanical sentinels and interceptors. We've only built one transport aircraft. For the barren world of Dre 2, the mechanical sentinels provide substantial support, as you are our most formidable warrior. Mechanical interceptor, the type deployed from your aircraft carriers? Darth Marthael pondered, recalling the Protoss combat unit. Ah, the small fighter aircraft. Yes, they are highly efficient combat machines. However, to unleash their full combat potential, a flight control computing center is necessary. Currently, they can only offer basic defense capabilities, explained Zirakus. Interesting. Send a few to me for comparison. I'd like to evaluate their strengths and weaknesses against the Vulture robot fighters we currently employ extensively, Darth Marthael requested, intrigued by the potential of these mechanical interceptors. Darth Marthael nodded in agreement. As you wish, Zirakus replied. As they conversed, the transport plane, operating on autopilot, entered the hyperspace channel. The transition into hyperspace was remarkably smooth, a quality Darth Marthael found himself describing as silky. It was clear that Protoss technology had a more profound understanding of hyperspace than anything currently known in the Milky Way galaxy, evident in the seamless jump in and out of hyperspace, without a hint of vibration. Peering out of the porthole, Darth Marthael's gaze narrowed upon sighting a green and white planet. Terrace, he murmured. Yes, the planet Terrace, Zirakus confirmed. It's the fifth planet in its star system, situated farther from its star, hence the colder climate. Despite this, it's rich in natural resources and shows many signs of past intelligent life. The development level of this planet was once far greater than it is now. Darth Marthael accessed his universal tool, pulling up information on the planet. Thousands of years ago, Terrace was a bustling trade center and transportation hub in the galaxy's outer ring. It played a crucial role in the Hydia hyperspace channel, boasting a population of nearly 100 billion at its peak. It was even dubbed the Coruscant of the Outer Ring. He continued, however, as the Corellian trade route gained prominence, Terrace's importance waned, leading to a mass exodus. Furthermore, the planet suffered greatly during the Mandalorian War and the Sith War, facing repeated conflicts and even falling under Sith Empire control at one point. Its prosperity has since faded, with the current population under 1 billion. A very interesting history, Zirakus remarked, his tone neutral. For a Protoss with a lifespan spanning thousands of years, such rises and falls were nothing unusual. But I recall mentioning that Mir's amulet isn't located here, Darth Marthael pointed out. Zirakus didn't directly address his statement, but elaborated. Mir's amulet, over 7,000 years old, has been the subject of extensive research based on documents left by the Jedi Covenant. They pursued this amulet diligently, believing it was crafted by the first-generation Sith Lord Solzus Sheen. However, the records are vague about its function, other than its ability to summon an invincible army, earning it the moniker Summoner of the Army of Death. Are there any leads? Darth Marthael inquired. The amulet has always been associated with a Sith Lord named Karnes Moor, the first of his kind. The history of the Sith fascinates me, but details here are scarce. According to the Jedi Covenant documents, Karnes Moor was a figure of great danger, Zirakus explained. An old sigh echoed behind Darth Marthael, followed by the appearance of Lucien Dre's phantom. Mir's amulet, this potent telepathic artifact, what has it told you? Essential information, Darth Marthael responded coolly. Mir's amulet is a malevolent and powerful Sith relic. It represents a threat to all intelligent life and should be eradicated, Lucien Dre declared, emphasizing the need for its destruction. Darth Marthael's lips curled into a slight smile. Then, I shall take pleasure in wielding this artifact against the Galactic Republic and Darth Sidious. This artifact holds significant value, as it may enable us to further our research into the channel. Perhaps it will unveil deeper aspects of the Force and its connection to psionics, Zirakus added, hinting at the potential revelations the amulet could bring about the intertwining of the Force and psychic powers. Vol 2, Chapter 25, Planet Terrace. Planet Terrace. Mor's amulet isn't here, so what have you discovered? Darth Marthael inquired. Clues, Zirakus replied. An invisible, powerful force conceals its existence. Whether it's the will of the Force itself or the amulet possesses a unique ability remains unclear. If it's the former, it would be fascinating, indicating that the channel is operational. He extended his telepathy to Lucien Del Rey's spirit, allowing him to hear the conversation. What is this channel you speak of? Lucien Dry asked, pausing before adding, Ah, I understand now. Force technology. Should any mishaps occur, the Jedi Order would seal away this technology. In my era, they were already contemplating it. However, the Sith Empire's presence meant they still required the power of Force technology. Is this Force technology, this channel, the reason Mor's amulet can unleash immense energy in such a compact form, enduring for thousands of years? Darth Marthael pondered. Exactly. Once Force technology is involved, we're dealing with a system entirely distinct from current technologies. At times, it might better be described as mysticism, Lucien Dry explained. And what can you tell me about this Force technology? Darth Marthael pressed. I won't reveal anything. However, I can assure you that the Jedi Covenant Temple on the Dre 2 satellite holds no records of Force technology, Lucien Dry stated. Darth Marthael responded coldly. You do realize I will uncover it eventually, right? For now, the Milky Way can enjoy a few more days of stability, Lucien Dre remarked lightly. What? Do you find the current state of the galaxy insufficiently chaotic? Darth Marthael scoffed. Believe me, it's only going to worsen, Lucien Dre said before ceasing the conversation and vanishing. It seemed he recognized his inability to deter Darth Marthael further and opted for an out-of-sight, out-of-mind approach. The spaceship descended into the atmosphere of planet Terrace, gliding silently through the air. Despite his unfamiliarity with the Protoss language, Darth Marthael deduced that the Protoss transport plane was equipped with radar stealth capabilities. Its unique materials and aerodynamic design rendered the spacecraft virtually invisible to radar detection. This detail, though minor, highlighted the Protoss's technological superiority over the galaxy at this stage. However, these technologies remained largely untapped, awaiting the Protoss scientists' exploration, guided by the blueprints provided by Darth Marthael. Given the Protoss's limited population, progress might be slow. Darth Marthael hoped that as the Protoss's technological and industrial capabilities expanded, they would maintain their technological edge, especially considering the formidable research departments of the Galactic Republic and the future Galactic Empire. The galaxy was awakening. "This is why I came," Darth Marthael murmured, gazing at his hand as if seeing something beyond. The Protoss transport plane steered clear of the sparsely populated residential areas, heading directly for the planet's largest continent. The scanning map revealed that this continent spanned over 3/4 of the planet's landmass, reminiscent of the mythical Pangu continent. Despite a population nearing 1 billion, no cities or settlements marked this vast land. As the Protoss transport plane sped on, the endless blue sea outside transformed into an infinite expanse of dark gray. The continent was enveloped in black and gray dust, obscuring the sky, and the sky was nearly obscured by dark clouds, intermittently lit by lightning that crackled without release, sending dull rumbles across the landscape. Below, visibility was hindered by the undulating black mountains and the skeletal remains of withered forests. As the transport plane began its descent, a vast shadow loomed ahead, a colossal city in ruins. Despite its dilapidated state, the remnants of skyscrapers, some cleaved in half, yet still reaching thousands of meters into the sky, hinted at its former glory. The city, now a charred relic of its past, was strewn with twisted, blackened corpses that, even after millennia, retained their shape, much like the desolate forests seen during the flight. The sheer size of the city, once home to hundreds of millions, was a testament to its bygone prosperity. A sigh from Lucien Del Rey echoed in Darth Malthael's mind as the plane landed near a mountain range beside the remnants of a small town, likely an old mining site. During the war 4,000 years ago, Taris was long occupied by the Sith, only to be reclaimed after a devastating defeat. The planet suffered a catastrophic orbital bombardment during the conflict, leaving it in ruins. From a bustling world of tens of billions, less than 1% of its population survives today, scattered across remote islands and subcontinents, Darth Malthael explained. He donned a full-coverage protective mask. The air was toxic, laden with harmful substances from unknown weapons. A single breath could clog an ordinary person's respiratory tract with microscopic dust, leading to a painful, suffocating death. Although Darth Malthael's strength allowed him to traverse the area unharmed, conserving his energy was prudent. "I've read about this history in the archives," Zirakas commented, his interest not in the universe's frequent destruction and wars, but in the trail of an amulet. As the hatch opened, Talim, the guardian of the Shirak tribe's temple, leaped out, stirring a cloud of black dust. Zirakas followed, his fine clothes quickly coated in dust, betraying his otherwise meticulous appearance. Darth Malthael stepped out, surveying the desolate landscape before casting an inquiring glance at Zirakas. Celeste Morn, a member of the Jedi Covenant, was tasked by Lucien Dre to find and destroy Mor's amulet. Lucien believed it was hidden here, in the dungeons of Taris, Zirakas revealed. Darth Malthael made his way toward the mine. The pit was engulfed in darkness, filled with black dust and occasional eerie sounds, perhaps the wind, or perhaps something else. Celeste Morn obtained the amulet and left Taris. Beyond that, my knowledge is limited, as my focus was elsewhere before my arrival in this world, Zirakas admitted, hinting at his previous lack of attention to the plot. Note: the original domain name and update website information have been omitted for narrative coherence and immersion. Vol 2, Chapter 126, Death Dungeon, Part 1. In the company of Zirakas, a total of 8 Protoss warriors ventured forth, led by the Temple Guardian, Talim. Adorned in golden armor, their suits were embedded with kyber crystals to amplify their psychic powers. Zirakas had explained that kyber crystals could, to some extent, serve as a substitute for the Coterine crystals known in the Starcraft universe. Despite their differences, both types of crystals exhibited a strong affinity for psionic and force energies, which significantly contributed to the Protoss's seamless integration into this new world. The technological and production limitations of their current environment meant that the Protoss warriors' armor was less grandiose than what Darth Marthael had witnessed in the game. Nevertheless, the expense incurred for just one set of such armor was astronomical. Each Protoss warrior had a unique approach to harnessing psionic energy, which influenced the number and placement of kyber crystals in their armor, typically ranging from 4 to 8. Additionally, the wrist-mounted crystals that powered their lightsabers brought the total to about 10 crystals per warrior. The cost of equipping a single Protoss with the equivalent of 10 lightsabers was exorbitant, a luxury Darth Marthael could only afford thanks to the Fourth Civilization's control over the planet Christophsis and its abundant crystal resources. Observing the Protoss warriors navigate through the black, dust-filled environment with ease, Darth Marthael felt reassured of his investment. He was confident that a Protoss warrior could effortlessly dismantle an Injili into 8 pieces. The title of the galaxy's most formidable warrior had subtly transitioned to the Protoss the moment they were awakened. The main continent of the Terrace planet was a desolate wasteland, devoid of life, and spanning an area twice the size of the Eurasian continents combined. Despite having witnessed the devastation of numerous cities from space, Darth Marthael experienced an even deeper sense of dread upon setting foot on this barren land. Charred corpses littered the ground, their bodies preserved in a state of agony from an orbital bombardment by an unknown weapon thousands of years ago. The corpses, with their hollow eye sockets and mouths agape in silent screams, painted a haunting picture of their final moments. As they approached the mine's entrance, the number of corpses increased, and among them were the remains of monstrous beings. These humanoid monsters, characterized by their 3-toed limbs, thick and sharp claws, and a large mouth filled with fangs, had evidently emerged from the mine. The presence of half-melted weapons and armored vehicles suggested a fierce battle between the humans and these creatures. "Rakghoul," Zirakas announced, examining one of the monster's corpses. Unconcerned about potential infection, he touched the corpse and examined a bit of black dust on his fingertips. "It's inactive and poses no danger." "The real danger lies underground," Darth Marthael remarked. "Rakghoul, the undead army mentioned in the Jedi Covenant records created by Mor's amulet," Zirakas explained. "The so-called summoner of the undead army is actually the spreader of the virus." Lucien Del Rey's voice interjected, "Your definition of just has led to the deaths of billions across several planets." Zirakas, unfazed, replied with a hint of pride, "This virus is highly contagious, but utterly ineffective against psionic energy and the original force. Describing it as just is indeed accurate." As they prepared to delve into the depths of the mine, the group braced themselves for the challenges that lay ahead, their resolve strengthened by their unique abilities and the knowledge that they faced a foe vulnerable to their powers. The journey into the Death Dungeon was about to begin, with the fate of countless lives hanging in the balance. Led by the Temple Guardian, Talem, the group of Protoss warriors ventured into the underground mine. The scene that greeted them was grim. Charred corpses littered the ground, and darkness enveloped everything. In such a place, one could hardly expect to find any source of energy. To navigate through the pitch-black tunnels, the warriors activated the switches on their wrist armor, projecting beams from their lightsabers. Although the lightsabers emitted only a soft glow, unable to illuminate the vast darkness fully, it was sufficient for the Protoss, who were not ordinary beings. Even with minimal light, they could discern their surroundings clearly. The path was strewn with corpses, leading deeper into the mine. The mine's layout was complex, with numerous collapsed sections, resembling a labyrinth. Yet, Zirakas appeared confident in the direction, leading the group with unwavering determination. Darth Marthael, following closely, had begun to grasp Zirakas's intentions. Zirakas shared with him, "The Jedi Covenant has been diligently searching for Mor's amulet." Lucien Dre dispatched Celeste Morn to the planet of Terrace in pursuit of it, primarily because of a significant outbreak of the Rakghoul virus that occurred here. Darth Marthael nodded in understanding. Terrace once boasted a vast underground city, likely constructed by its inhabitants as a refuge from war. Unfortunately, it became the epicenter for the Rakghoul virus, which, due to the city's enclosed nature, led to its rapid and complete downfall. Zerachus continued, "The planet Terrace has endured a prolonged battle against the Rak ghouls, emerging from the underground city, spanning decades, if not centuries. This struggle persisted until the planet was decimated by war. Following the conclusion of the Old Sith War, the ravaged planet was nearly forgotten, only to be remembered again during the Mandalorian War 4,000 years ago. Historical records indicate that at least 1 million Mandalorian crusaders descended upon Terrace, only to be overwhelmed by the relentless Rak ghouls." A golden light flickered in Darth Malthael's eyes as he added, "And they are still there, lurking in the shadows." Note 1. The term Rak ghoul virus is a more accurate translation than the original Lakhal virus. The word ghoul, common in English games, effectively conveys the virus's characteristics, being a compound word that suggests a creature resembling a ghoul. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter, Rak ghoul. Please remember the first domain name of this book for the fastest updates on the Apex Novel Network mobile version. Vol 2, Chapter 1027, Dungeon of the Dead, Middle. 4,000 years ago, Celeste Morn ventured into the Terrace dungeon through this very pit. The decision to avoid the main entrance was strategic. It was the only way to bypass the relentless assault of the Rak ghouls. She entered the dungeon, and from that moment, all contact was lost, along with any trace of her whereabouts, Lacus explained. The trail of documentation ends there, but for us, it's just the beginning. Darth Marthael, intrigued, inquired, "On what grounds do we proceed then?" "Our guide is psionic energy," Zerachus responded. "Our Shirok tribe has long been the guardian of the Zelnaga temple and the excavator of ancestral ruins. The clues left in the Terrace dungeon, though 4,000 years old, are relatively fresh compared to the ancient Zelnaga ruins." As they delved deeper, the environment around them grew increasingly ominous. Scattered on the ground were remnants of vast underground excavations and rusted mining equipment, a testament to a bygone era. The path was littered with tens of thousands of corpses, a mere fraction of the countless lives claimed by the Rak ghoul virus. 3 calamities had decimated the population of Terrace: mass emigration, orbital bombardment, and the Rak ghouls. Deeper still, the nature of the corpses began to shift. Closer to the heart of the dungeon, the bodies had decomposed into skeletons, which were oddly blackened. This black dust is a mixture of microorganisms infected with the Rak ghoul virus and substances charred by the orbital bombardment. The unique structure of the virus is why this dust has never dispersed, Zerachus explained. Clearing it is not difficult, merely time-consuming. Darth Marthael's frown deepened. "So, the normal state of these corpses indicates—" "Exactly. The Rak ghoul virus is still active here," Zerachus confirmed, igniting his lightsaber. The blue blade illuminated their path, a beacon of resolve in the oppressive darkness. Further on, Talim, the temple guardian, suddenly hastened his pace. He crouched beside a piece of mining equipment, so corroded it was nearly unrecognizable, and after a thorough inspection, simply nodded. His actions were silent, a testament to the Protoss's taciturn nature, a detail Darth Marthael noted with a sneer. As they approached, they discovered a cluster of Rak ghoul corpses, each dismembered by precise cuts. "We're on the right path," Zerachus observed, his gaze fixed on a tunnel ahead, clearly excavated by the machinery. Passing through the tunnel's entrance, they emerged into a vast chamber, its ceiling lost in the shadows hundreds of meters above. Buildings clung to the walls, stretching from the chamber's floor to its distant ceiling, their architecture serving both as habitation and structural support. Almost immediately, shadows lunged from the darkness. Talim reacted with lightning speed, his light blade slicing through the attackers. Black blood sprayed from the severed Rak ghouls. Alive! The ghouls' roars echoed through the dungeon, a chilling harbinger of the awakening horror. In the depths of the shadows, countless enraged howls answered. "Speed up," Zerachus commanded, quickening his pace. Rak ghouls emerged with increasing frequency, their agility and strength a deadly challenge to the intruders as they ventured deeper into the heart of darkness. The ceiling supported them as they crawled swiftly along the walls before rushing forward with howling cries. Even with the advanced technology of this galaxy, it remains a complete mystery how these monsters have survived for thousands of years, still wielding such formidable power. If this is all the work of Mor's amulet, then the title Summoner of the Undead Army is truly deserved. These monsters seem genuinely immortal. The Protoss warriors stood their ground against the onslaught of ghouls, charging into battle with a determination that made slaughtering these creatures seem as effortless as slicing through melons and vegetables. The prowess of the Protoss warriors was on full display, showcasing their incredible ability to cooperate seamlessly. Without the need for verbal communication, they could sense each other's status and instantly respond in the most effective way possible. Indeed, the Protoss are not only the most formidable warriors individually, but also the most powerful force collectively, thanks to their telepathy and the Way of Kara. This unity and strength make the Protoss the epitome of perfection. Throughout the battle, Darth Malthael observed from a distance, his attention not solely on the Protoss, but also on the Rakk Ghoul. He noticed that the behavior of these ghouls was not merely chaotic and destructive, there was a deeper intelligence at work. He observed many Rakk ghouls attempting to use unrecognizable firearms, and upon realizing these weapons were inoperative, they discarded them in frustration and resorted to melee combat. This adaptability and understanding among the ghouls revealed a level of wisdom. Unlike the T-virus, a product of early Fourth Industrial Revolution civilization, the Rakk Ghoul virus has devastated the galaxy for millennia. This revelation brought a cold, cruel smile to Darth Malthael's face. This was the power he sought. The Rakk Ghoul virus posed little threat to those sensitive to the Force, but to ordinary people, it was a nightmare beyond comprehension. In this galaxy, Force-sensitive individuals numbered only in the tens of thousands, whereas ordinary people were in the hundreds of millions, if not billions. Their journey led them towards the outskirts of the city, where the number of Rakk ghouls dwindled, easing the pressure on the group. After a fierce battle with a group of ghouls, they managed to escape pursuit and took refuge in a cave. Zirakas, after a moment of sensing, announced, "We're very close, not just to the remaining fragments of Celeste Morn, but to others as well." The Mandalorian Crusaders, Lucien Dre added with a sigh. "They're also in search of Mor's amulet. Celeste Morn must have encountered them and then lost contact." "Is the direction ahead towards a dry underground river?" Darth Malthael inquired, consulting the scan data of the surrounding terrain on his universal tool. Suddenly, his expression turned serious. "Wait, how many people are there? A wrecked ship." Please remember the first domain name of this book. For the fastest updates, visit the Apex Novel Network's mobile-friendly website. Vol 2, Chapter 1028, Dungeon of the Dead, Part 2. "A spaceship? Then it looks like we've found the right place," Zirakas remarked, his eyes scanning the surroundings. "There are still many signs of lightsaber battles here, the remnants of the Force, the slashing of the lightsaber, the roar of the soul, and more importantly—" Zirakas paused, raising his hand in the air and lightly tapping. An astonishing scene unfolded before them. In the air where he pointed, a dark grimace materialized. The grimace emitted a silent growl before vanishing into thin air. "Such a powerful artifact naturally won't go unnoticed," Zirakas continued. Darth Malthael nodded in agreement, impressed by Zirakas's display of power. It was clear that the Shirak tribe, known for guarding and excavating various relics among the major tribes of the Protoss, possessed a unique expertise in their exploration and research of relics. This reminded Darth Malthael of his battle with Master Windu. Although he was aware of Master Windu's force-shattering point ability, the combination of abilities he witnessed seemed to him a fusion of Remilia's and Flandra's powers, allowing one to see both the breaking point of an object and the breaking point of fate. Despite his extensive preparations, Malthael was still taken aback by this formidable power. He understood that his strengths lay in the power of life, immortality, and death. Competing in swordsmanship would place him at a disadvantage against Master Windu. However, Malthael also recognized that there were many abilities he possessed that Master Windu could never attain. Such was the talent of the Force. In this dungeon permeated with death, Darth Malthael found his power of death greatly disturbed. The Rakk ghouls inhabiting the dungeon were not truly dead. They were a form of life, an eternal existence under the control of Mor's amulet. Moreover, These rat ghouls showed no reaction to the wraiths released by Malthael, indicating they possessed no souls. Yet, they were completely controlled by the amulet and retained certain skills from their lives. The nature of such a virus was truly terrifying. A slight misstep could lead to a catastrophic natural disaster sweeping across the galaxy. The summoner of the undead army, from initial disdain upon learning this was a virus, to shock now. None of the artifacts of the ancient Sith are simple, Malthael reflected. There are a lot of ghouls near the wreckage of the spaceship, Talim finally spoke, his voice echoing in Darth Malthael's mind. Low, majestic, somewhat hoarse, imbued with majesty and the weight of ages. I will head to the wreckage of the spacecraft to search for any clues about what transpired that year. If I can discover their next target, then our path forward will be clear, Darth Malthael declared. With that, he drew his lightsaber and charged forward. After navigating through a maze of stalactites, they arrived near a dry, underground riverbed. The silhouettes of several massive spaceships loomed ahead, surrounded by rat ghouls. Upon noticing the newcomers, the ghouls let out terrifying roars and charged. Malthael observed that these rat ghouls were clad in heavy, albeit old and rusted, armor bearing a resemblance to that of some modern Mandalorian mercenaries. Historical records left no doubt that these were the Mandalorian Crusaders who had invaded the dungeon of the planet Terrace. The Mandalorians had lost millions of Crusaders on this planet despite deploying a massive force. Given the planet's devastation from orbital bombing and ghoul invasion, occupation was impossible. Their true objective was undoubtedly the divine weapon, Mor's amulet, and it was clear they had come perilously close to achieving their goal. Yet what remained puzzling was the fate of these rat ghouls. Transformed from the Mandalorian Crusaders, retained their standard appearance with 3 toes, sharp claws, a compound eye, and a mouth full of razor-sharp teeth. This transformation was the result of Mor's amulet, which didn't just infect its victims, but morphed them into entirely different creatures. This ensured the uniformity of the rat ghouls, indicating that Mor's amulet was designed with the creation of an army in mind from the outset. A blood-red lightsaber flashed in Darth Malthael's hand, slicing a rat ghoul, once a Mandalorian Crusader, into 2. However, he felt a momentary resistance. The Mandalorian Crusader armors were more durable and heat-resistant than typical metals, almost as if they were specifically engineered to combat lightsabers. Though not made of Beskar steel, like that of the Mandalorian Super Commandos, these armors could disrupt the flow of battle for less experienced Jedi Knights or apprentices, potentially costing them their lives in the brief moments of hesitation. Against ordinary foes, these rat ghouls would be lethal. However, those who ventured here were among the most powerful beings. Darth Malthael moved with incredible speed, his sword hand a blur, cutting down rat ghouls with precision. They stood no chance against him, falling like waves against a rock. Temple Guardian Talim displayed swordsmanship on par with Darth Malthael. His strikes were broad yet precise, each thrust targeting the rat ghouls' greatest vulnerability, their brains. The Protoss warriors, too, cut through the rat ghouls with ease, making their way to the wreckage of the spaceships. Darth Malthael leaped into a spaceship through a breach in its hull, only to be ambushed by rat ghouls. With a swift motion of his lightsaber, he decapitated them, then used the Force to barricade the entrance with a cockpit seat. He searched the mainframe and cargo hold, but found nothing but rat ghoul corpses and no clues. Emerging from the wreckage, he moved on to another spaceship, while Talim and the Protoss warriors continued their valiant fight. Despite their strength, the overwhelming number of rat ghouls meant they were fighting a losing battle. Zerakas searched for information, but the ravages of time had destroyed even the most basic components of the spaceships, leaving little hope of finding any clues. Then, Darth Malthael stumbled upon something extraordinary. A soul. Considering the rat ghoul virus could infect even the soul, finding one intact was astonishing. Through his mastery over death, Darth Malthael communicated with the soul and uncovered its story. It belonged to a member of the Jedi Covenant, a Jedi Master who had survived thousands of years in this dark dungeon, surrounded by countless rat ghouls. The soul of the Jedi Master had long since lost its independent consciousness, existing only as a faint remnant. Under the control of Darth Malthael, it could only emit meaningless moans. Focusing intensely, Darth Marthael harnessed the power of death to its limits. Amidst the crushing force, he sifted through the disorganized fragments of information lingering from the Jedi Master's final moments and caught a single word: Jebel. Simultaneously, Zerakas's voice echoed in his mind, revealing crucial information. The Mandalorian Crusaders have seized the amulet. They plan to transport it to a secret base. "Jabber, go!" Darth Marthael commanded, channeling his formidable force to manipulate the wreckage of a spaceship. The sound of metal contorting filled the air as he effortlessly lifted the over 50-meter-long debris with the force. His expression darkened as he propelled the wreckage forward with a mighty shove. The path it carved through the swarm of lac ghouls was clear, as they were effortlessly crushed under its weight. This action opened a direct path through the sea of ghouls. As they advanced, the noise attracted more ghouls from the surrounding areas, increasing their numbers significantly. Illuminated by the glow of lightsabers, they faced what seemed like an insurmountable wall of ghouls. The sheer number of these creatures was overwhelming, with potentially millions present in the dungeons of Talos planet alone. The thought of the despair felt by the planet's inhabitants before its destruction was sobering, making the orbital bombing that ended it all seem almost merciful. Navigating through the treacherous terrain, Darth Marthael and his companions finally found refuge in a mine. The narrow, complex pathways provided a temporary safe haven, though the echoes of the ghouls' roars still haunted the mine. It was only a matter of time before the ghouls discovered their location. Thanks to Zerakas's keen memory, they narrowly escaped to their spaceship. As they departed, the underground mine released countless lac ghouls, briefly stirring the dead continent to life. The Protoss transport plane soared towards the sky, heading for planet Jabal. Those Mandalorian Crusaders obtained Mor's amulet first, and now the Jedi Covenant is on their trail, with planet Jabal as their destination, Darth Marthael explained. Zerakas nodded, adding, "I found an order on one of the Rak ghouls, directing them to deliver items to the Mandalorian secret base." Darth Marthael, intrigued, asked, "How did you manage to find something on a Rak ghoul amidst the chaos?" "Battles are inevitable during the excavation of ruins," Zerakas replied, his answer subtly addressing Darth Marthael's query. Meanwhile, 3 Protoss warriors were tending to their wounds, all inflicted by lac ghouls during the skirmish. Darth Marthael turned to them, inquiring about their condition. "You must have been infected with the virus, right?" One of the warriors responded telepathically, "I can sense the virus attempting to infiltrate my body and nervous system. Though I can psychically fend off its advances, the experience is far from pleasant, but not fatal." Darth Marthael approached, placing his hand on the warrior's wound and closing his eyes to concentrate. Through his force sensitivity, he could distinctly feel the presence of the virus, confirming their fears. Viruses, akin to countless living microorganisms, relentlessly burrow into the body's cells, seeking to occupy them. However, their invasion is thwarted by the psionic power of the Protoss warriors, rendering their efforts futile. With a simple gesture, dark, viscous blood is drawn out from the body of a Protoss warrior and into a water cup beside him. Upon contact with the air, the black blood begins to evaporate rapidly, indicating the swift airborne spread of the virus. Yet, this proves to be in vain as Darth Marthael, with another wave of his hand, unleashes a formidable force that eradicates all the viruses instantaneously. The potency of this infection is unparalleled, dwarfing that of the T-virus by hundreds, if not thousands of times. Meanwhile, their spaceship hurtles towards the planet Jabal at breakneck speed. For the latest updates, please bookmark the first domain name of this book on the Apex Novel Network's mobile-friendly website. Vol 2, Chapter 129, Frozen World. Planet Jabal has been another victim of war, Darth Marthael began, his voice carrying a weight of solemnity. 4,000 years ago, the Galactic Republic and the Mandalorians were locked in a tragic conflict known as the Mandalorian Wars. To halt the Mandalorian invasion, the Galactic Republic established a defensive line on several resource-rich worlds along this front. He interacted with his universal tool, pulling up the official records of Planet Jabal, though his narrative was enriched by his own extensive knowledge. This was the Jabal-Wago-Talnit defensive line. It was fortified with a multitude of hyperspace blockers and countless outposts, supported by 4 mobile fleets. Their mission was to safeguard the commercial and economic hub of the Outer Ring, a planet known as Terrace, often referred to as the Coruscant of the Outer Rim. Darth Marthel shook his head, his tone laced with sarcasm. History has repeatedly taught us that the stronger the defense, the greater the potential for failure. The destruction of Terrace triggered a domino effect, compromising the defensive line. The Mandalorians wasted no time, deploying their armada which swiftly overran the Jabal-Wago-Talnit defense, capturing both Jabal and Terrace. He spread his hands wide, as if to emphasize the futility of it all. And then, silence. The records concerning the Mandalorian War abruptly end there, shifting focus to other battlefronts. However, based on my analysis, Planet Jabal was both lucky and unlucky in its fate. Mor's amulet possesses the power to wreak havoc on a planetary scale, yet you have consistently underestimated this forbidden artifact, Lucian Dre remarked. Darth Marthael merely sneered, offering no reply. As their spacecraft exited the hyperspace channel, the vast, dark expanse of the universe unfolded before them, revealing a moderately sized planet. Scans indicated that it was situated in the 6th stellar system, at a considerable distance from its star, resulting in its classification as an icy world. The planet's geological stability and intact atmosphere, with average temperatures ranging from -20 degrees Celsius to -50 degrees Celsius, allowed for the survival of life forms. Jabal's ice layers, rich in rare elements, attracted numerous corporations to mine and transport the ice for refinement. The inhabitants, known as ice diggers, played a crucial role in the economy, with Jabal's output complementing the large-scale mining operations on Vago, another resource world within the Galactic Republic's defensive line. The ice from Jabal, once melted, yielded rare elements that were processed into high-strength, steel-resistant armor plates for warships on Vago. However, following the complete capture of this defensive line by the Mandalorians during the war, Jabal fell into obscurity, its fate unknown. The planet Terrace suffered destruction through orbital bombardment by the Sith Empire before falling to the Mandalorians. The current state of Jabal, however, hinted at a grim reality. As their spacecraft penetrated the planet's atmosphere, a chilling sight unfolded before them. The entire planet was encased in black ice. Black clouds swirled above, while black dust covered the landscape. The absence of any peaks, highlands, or geographical features, only an endless expanse of ice caps, confirmed their worst fears. This planet, too, has been subjected to devastating orbital bombardment, Darth Marthael concluded, his voice barely above a whisper. The once vibrant world of Jabal was now a frozen, blackened wasteland, its history and fate a stark reminder of the ravages of war. The bombardment had caused the global ice to melt completely, transforming the planet into an ocean world for a long period. Over thousands of years, it gradually cooled down and froze over once again. Zarakas explained this history, adding, "Then these black remnants," Darth Marthael interjected with a frown. "Exactly, the remnants of the Lax Ghoul virus," Zarakas confirmed. "This virus is incredibly contagious, capable of infecting even airborne microbes. Thanks to the power of Mor's amulet and some unknown force technology, the virus managed to survive for an extended period. It was eventually eradicated by the high temperatures from orbital bombardment. However, the virus mixed with atmospheric dust, creating this black dust that has persisted for thousands of years. This dust has turned the seawater black, and as the water froze, it formed this world of black ice." Darth Marthael sneered, "Another orbital bombardment. It seems the Mandalorian Crusaders brought the Lax Ghoul virus here after obtaining Mor's amulet. And, upon realizing they couldn't control the virus's spread, they resorted to destroying the planet with orbital bombardment," Zarakas added. "But this has complicated our mission. Everywhere we look, there's nothing but black ice. Have the planet's scans yielded any results?" Darth Marthael inquired. "The standard scan has finished without findings. The deep scan, designed to detect the planet's mineral veins, has just begun, but it will take a few hours to complete," Zarakas replied. Darth Marthael glanced at the spacecraft's radar screen and said coldly, "I don't think we need to wait that long." He noticed a small dot appearing on the screen. It seems the ice mining industry survived the destruction of planet Jabul. The dot was a signal from a small cargo ship. This ship isn't armed, Zeracus noted. Then take it down, Darth Marthael ordered. The Protoss transport ship suddenly accelerated, quickly closing in on the unsuspecting cargo ship. After several changes of ownership and modifications, the original model of the cargo ship was unrecognizable. Without warning, the Protoss ship charged at it. A panicked voice crackled through the public communication channel. "Hey, who are you? What do you want? Stop! You're gonna hit us!" Boom! The two spaceships collided. The Protoss transport ship remained undamaged, while the cargo ship's left wing was severely damaged, causing the ship to shake violently. If not for the anti-gravity device, it would have plummeted. Inside the cargo ship, the crew, dressed like smugglers, scrambled to regain control. Suddenly, a voice echoed in their minds. "Stop the ship!" "What?" the pilot asked, looking around in confusion. "You heard me. Land the ship," the voice commanded, this time audibly and filled with menace. The crew members were startled. They then noticed a dark figure in a black cloak standing in the cockpit, who had appeared out of nowhere. "You are," the pilot began, but was abruptly silenced by a blood-red lightsaber activated around his neck. Please remember to visit our website for the fastest updates. Vol 2, Chapter 1030, The Final Clue. The modified cargo ship made a precarious landing on an icy surface of the planet Jabul, where a simple camp had been established. This settlement, built on the ice, was home to a group of ice diggers who had just returned from space. They had intended to rally their comrades on the ground to confront Darth Marthael, but their plans were quickly thwarted. Without Darth Marthael lifting a finger, a terrifying wail and the howling of wolves filled the air. The mental shockwave emitted by a resentful spirit left the diggers trembling on their knees, overwhelmed by fear. Upon questioning, Darth Marthael learned about the ice diggers' operations. Approximately 400 diggers had been mining ice blocks on Jabul for an extended period. The planet hosted a few thousand people, but not permanently due to its harsh climate. Only with a large-scale residential area and stable energy could life be sustained here. Thus, the diggers established temporary camps for a few months of intensive mining before moving on. The extreme cold preserved the abandoned camps, allowing them to be reactivated whenever needed. Their current mission was to mine an ice layer containing a rare element crucial for supermatter reactions. This layer, located 10 meters underground, was unusual due to its black ice. "Why is the ice here black?" Darth Marthael inquired. The diggers could only offer hearsay about an event thousands of years prior, having no concrete answers themselves. "And how does this black ice differ from regular ice?" Darth Marthael pressed on. One digger explained that consuming water melted from the black ice led to severe diarrhea, even death in some cases. However, when heated, the ice melted without emitting any odor. Darth Marthael responded with a cold remark about their luck. Unbeknownst to the diggers, the black substance contained remnants of the Lac-Gol virus. There was a concern about active viruses within these remnants, but it appeared that the virus couldn't survive the high temperatures of orbital bombardment, similar to the situation on the planet Terrace. An apprehensive digger then addressed Darth Marthael, acknowledging their humble status compared to his advanced technology and requesting leniency. Ignoring the plea, Darth Marthael asked if they had found anything unusual while digging. The diggers mentioned finding building fragments, but nothing they considered valuable. Suddenly, one digger mentioned a safe, catching Darth Marthael's attention. This Jabul box was a legend among the ice diggers, rumored to be an indestructible container discovered more than 1,000 years ago. It was said to be impenetrable and undetectable by any instruments, sparking Darth Marthael's interest as potentially the final clue he had been searching for. "People believed it was a Jedi treasure," he continued. "Many have dreamed of unlocking it, yet no one has succeeded. Then, the safe is sold to the next hopeful buyer at an increased price, escalating further and further." "Who currently possesses it?" Darth Marthael inquired. The ice digger exchanged wary glances with his companions before cautiously asking, "Sir, are you a Jedi Knight? Is this safe truly a Jedi treasure?" "Don't ask questions. Just tell me where the safe is, and you'll be rewarded," Darth Marthiel interrupted, tossing a bag filled with credit ingots towards them. If we provide you with this information, will you spare our lives? The ice digger pressed for confirmation. Darth Marthiel nodded dismissively. Your lives mean nothing to me. I'm only interested in Jabbal's safe. Believing they had reached an agreement, the ice digger revealed, it's on the planet Artanis, in the possession of a group of Qubit smugglers led by someone named Kururu. Darth Marthiel nodded thoughtfully. As he fell silent, the ice diggers cautiously asked, Sir, we've told you everything we know. May we leave now? Lifting his gaze, Darth Marthiel's chilling stare silenced them. The ice diggers, overwhelmed by his menacing presence, didn't dare linger. As one attempted to flee, triggering a collective sprint, they barely made it 10 steps before collapsing, each transforming into a corpse before hitting the ground. I cannot allow knowledge of my presence here to spread, Darth Marthiel stated coldly, turning to head towards the Protoss transport ship. Upon returning to the spaceship, he discovered the absence of Zerakas's Protoss. After establishing communication, Zerakas reported that their scans had detected a structure beneath the ice layer, suggesting it was of significant value. The planet Jabul had suffered an orbital bombardment, leading to a global thaw and subsequent refreeze, encapsulating the entire planet in ice. A structure that could withstand such conditions was undoubtedly extraordinary. In that case, lend me your spaceship. I'm heading to Artanis, Darth Marthiel decided. Have you found a lead? Zerakas inquired. It seems likely, Darth Marthiel responded, then directed the spacecraft's unmanned console, set course for Artanis. The console flickered and emitted a series of unintelligible machine sounds before the engine roared to life, propelling the ship towards the distant horizon. Emerging from hyperspace, the Protoss transport arrived at Artanis, a remote desert planet on the outskirts of the Milky Way's outer ring. Unlike the war-ravaged desert planet of Tatooine, Artanis boasted a more hospitable environment with numerous primitive jungles. Its indigenous population, the Qubits, were intelligent beings evolved from reptile-like ancestors. Despite supporting the Galactic Republic in the ongoing war, the planet's barrenness rendered it unattractive to the Confederation of Independent Systems. Like many fringe worlds in the Outer Rim, Artanis was a haven for crime, slavery, and smuggling, with gang warfare an ever-present threat. Darth Marthiel ventured into a Qubit city to seek out Kururu. His search was brief. He soon learned that Kururu had perished in a gang conflict 6 months prior. Volume 2, Chapter 1031, The Safety of Jabber, Part 1. Kururu was killed? When? How did it happen? Darth Marthiel inquired, his brow furrowed as he addressed the inebriated mercenary slouched over the bar. Kururu was a minor player, always biting off more than he could chew, especially when it came to clashing with the Spider Venom gang over territory. Every time he rallied his crew for a skirmish, they ended up worse for wear, and eventually, his followers lost faith in him. The mercenary, a Qubit, explained, his speech surprisingly clear despite the long, snake-like tongue that lay limply on the table, a stream of saliva dribbling down. So, it was the Spider Venom gang who killed him? Darth Marthiel pressed on. Ha! Far from it. At that time, the Spider Venom gang had their own troubles to deal with. You're not from around here, are you? The truth is, Kururu met his end at the hands of separatists. The mercenary revealed with a hint of mystery. Our planet is loyal to the Galactic Republic. Why would separatists come here? Darth Marthiel questioned. The mercenary, seizing the opportunity for profit, gestured for payment with a sly chuckle. Without hesitation, Darth Marthiel tossed a bag of credit ingots onto the table. The purse, stained with the grime of Jabbal's ice mines, caught the mercenary's eye. He quickly snatched it up, concealing it beneath his clothes. Leaning in, the mercenary whispered, You've come to the right person. I possess knowledge that few others do. The sum of money was significant, and fearing Darth Marthiel might change his mind, the mercenary began to boast. I was in the vicinity when Kururu was assassinated. It was the work of separatists, I'm certain of it. I saw the droids myself, B1, B2 models. Ask around, no one else will have this information. 6 months ago? But at that time, General Grievous was spearheading a major offensive. The Republic's defenses were crumbling. It seems unlikely that separatist forces would be here, especially for someone as insignificant as Kururu, Darth Marthiel interjected, his tone icy. The mercenary hurriedly assured him, "It's the absolute truth. There are rumors, sure, but what I witnessed aligns perfectly with them." "And what exactly did you see?" Darth Marthael asked, his interest piqued. Kururu was desperate after his repeated failures to secure territory. Rumor has it he spent a fortune on a so-called treasure from Jabul's black market, a legendary item from the ice miners. It nearly bankrupted him. But think about it. If it were truly valuable, would it be sold so easily? "What was this treasure?" Darth Marthael inquired, intrigued. "Ah, you've asked the right person. Your money is well spent. Everyone thought Kururu was eliminated by rival gangs, but I know the truth. He was taken out by a swarm of droids. And as those droids departed, I saw something incredible," the mercenary said, his voice dropping to a whisper. "The Uhumele." "Whose ship is the Uhumele?" Darth Marthael pressed. The mercenary clutched the purse tighter, wary of losing his newfound wealth. "You're not going to ask for the money back, are you?" "Answer the question and we'll see," Darth Marthael responded, his patience waning. All right. The Uhumele belongs to Shirk Heron, a Yarkora smuggler. It's a Maka Ikai L-4000 transport, renowned for its robust armor and speed. "A fine ship, measuring 66 meters in length," the mercenary explained. "And where is he now?" Darth Marthael cut in. "New Plimto. Now, do you see where those droids came from? New Plimto is under Separatist control. Shulk Heron must have fed the Separatists false intelligence, leading them to attack Kururu and seize the opportunity to claim the treasure." "So the Uhumele spacecraft was used to transport this treasure?" Darth Marthael concluded, piecing together the mercenary's tale. Darth Marthael spoke with a casual tone. Indeed, Shulker Heron unearthed a massive coffin from beneath the ruins, spanning at least 3 meters and completely sealed. He then transported it to his spaceship, cautiously ensuring he remained undetected before departing. That artifact must hold significant value. "The last thing I need is for you to guide me to those ruins tonight. After that, you're free to go," Darth Marthael added, his voice carrying a hint of finality. The mercenary, unnerved by Darth Marthael's ominous demeanor, hesitated before responding. "You can take your own vehicle. I'll just need a lift," Darth Marthael proposed. "Fine, but let me be clear. You pay me, I provide the information, and then we're even. No funny business," the mercenary warned, his voice laced with a threat. "To me, money is of little consequence," Darth Marthael replied, his tone dismissive. As they journeyed, an airship swiftly passed by at a low altitude. The mercenary, somewhat inebriated, drove his car with reckless abandon. Despite the perilous drive, Darth Marthael remained unflustered, his composure as solid as a rock. Eventually, they arrived at the outskirts of a mountain, revealing a sprawling complex of ruins ahead. The site, large enough to have housed between 100 to 200 individuals, bore the marks of extensive scavenging. It's been over half a year. Scavengers have picked over the bodies multiple times, and wild animals have taken what was left, including the remnants of some robots. Now, deemed unlucky, this place lies abandoned, the mercenary explained, gesturing towards the desolate scene. "There's not much left to see here, so you might as well." His words were abruptly cut off. In a shocking turn, the mercenary found Darth Marthael standing behind him, though he was certain Darth had been in front of him moments before. The mercenary's body, now with his head twisted grotesquely 180 degrees, slumped to the ground lifelessly. "The money is yours as promised," Darth Marthael stated coldly, leaving behind the chilling scene and the mercenary's corpse, clutching the promised payment. "Someone wants to purchase the Jaber safe? How did they even know it's in my possession?" Shulker Heron, the head of the smuggling ring, questioned the intermediary through a holographic projection, his brow furrowed in concern. "The buyer has offered a substantial sum, 500,000 credit points, all in cash. With that kind of offer, it's best not to inquire too deeply into how they obtained their information," the intermediary advised. 500,000 credit points? That's more than enough to purchase a new Hummel, which costs only 180,000. It could even buy a spaceship over 100 meters long. Shulker Heron mused, stroking his beard thoughtfully. "It's not that the offer isn't generous, it's almost too generous. Sometimes, money can bring more trouble than it's worth. Do we have any information on the buyer?" My advice is to proceed with the transaction, even if it means adding more money on top. The risk of refusing could be far greater than just losing the money. It could cost you your life. As for the buyer, the intermediary trailed off, shaking his head ominously. Please note, for the most up-to-date version of this story, visit the Apex Novel Network's mobile site. Vol 2, Chapter 32, Jaber's Safe, Part 2. Threaten me? There's no need for that. I've hidden Jaber's safe within the star ring of a certain planet. Without the coordinates I've memorized, it's virtually impossible for anyone to locate it, Shulka Heron stated with a dismissive snort. So, have you decided to sell or not? The middleman inquired. For 500,000 credits, not a credit more or less, I'll sell it. However, I insist on a face-to-face transaction on the planet Mingban, Shulka Heron declared. No problem. I'll inform the buyer right away, the middleman responded before ending the communication. Upon meeting the prospective buyer, Shulka Heron scrutinized the mysterious figure cloaked in darkness, whose hood obscured the upper half of his face. They were in a secluded stronghold on the planet Mingban, having taken several precautionary detours to ensure no additional forces were accompanying the buyer. 500,000 credits, all in credit ingots, Darth Marthael announced, gesturing for the B-1 battle robot beside him to present a large box filled with metallic currency. Shulka Heron, flanked by his imposing entourage, watched as one of his men verified the ingots with a scanner before nodding in approval. The payment is legitimate, boss. You're not concerned I might abscond with the money? With the money? Shulka Heron probed. Ah, Heron, you do jest. Given the stature of our employer, such actions are beneath him, the middleman chuckled through the communicator. Curiosity piqued. Shulka Heron's demeanor turned grave. Jaber's treasure is no ordinary item. By its looks, it could be mistaken for a medical pod. Sensing the conversation taking an unwelcome turn, the middleman attempted to interject, but Darth Marthael cut in. If you're truly curious, I could open the safe right here. You can open it. This artifact that has remained sealed for ages? Who exactly are you? Shulka Heron demanded, his tone serious. Your curiosity is boundless, Darth Marthael remarked coldly, igniting his lightsaber. The blood-red blade hummed to life. Perhaps this will clarify my identity. You claimed the Confederate defenders of New Primps killed Kururu to obtain this safe. You must be aware of its significance. Shulka Heron's expression darkened. You're a follower of Count Dooku. I warn you, the safe is hidden within the star ring of a planet, and I alone know its coordinates. Kill me, and you'll spend eternity searching the cosmos. Darth Marthael's lightsaber vanished as his demeanor shifted to one of amusement. Very well, 1 million credits, and not a credit more. The middleman, now visibly shaken, pleaded, Boss Heron, please, just sell it. Take the money and forget this ever happened. After a moment of internal conflict, Shulka Heron made his decision. This goes against my conscience. 2 million, and not a penny less. Ah, the price of your conscience is indeed steep, Darth Marthael remarked sarcastically. You concealed the safe, refusing to hand it over to the Jedi Order, all the while preaching about your conscience. In the end, it's all about the money. Shulka Heron's communicator buzzed with the notification of an unexpected deposit. 1.5 million credit points had been added to his bank account. The realization struck him with horror. The person he was dealing with had transferred the money without even asking for his account details. This account was his private one, not even registered under his real name. Yet, as the transaction concluded, there seemed to be no turning back. Shulka Heron reluctantly provided the coordinates. The item is located. Darth Marthael, after verifying the coordinates on his universal tool, responded calmly, I will investigate. Whether it's there or not, rest assured, I will find you again to confirm. Now, is there anything else you wish to disclose? There's nothing more. The item is there, I assure you. Now, go and retrieve it, Shulka Heron replied tersely, his face devoid of expression. He stood up, signaling his men to gather their belongings and prepare to leave. However, Darth Marthael's icy voice halted him. I didn't ask if there was anything more you wished to say. What I want to know is, do you have any intentions of leading me into a trap at these coordinates? Is there a bomb waiting for me? Shulka Heron was visibly shaken. You've realized my true intentions. You knew I was planning to eliminate you. Why else would I insist on a face-to-face transaction if not to confirm this? Do you think I'm torn between greed and conscience? Is the world really that simple to you? His face contorted with fear and anger. Shulkaharan took a step forward, raising his voice. The deal is off. Take your money back. We're leaving. But his bodyguards remained motionless. Turning around in confusion, he was horrified to see their heads slowly tilting off their necks before dropping to the ground with a thud. You! Even if you kill me, you'll never. His words were cut short as he stared in disbelief at the metal fragments protruding from his chest before collapsing with a look of terror. Murder! Murder! Screamed a middleman involved in the deal, witnessing the scene remotely. But his panic was short-lived, as an invisible force suddenly strangled him, lifting his body into the air. Despite his desperate struggles, he was powerless, his neck snapping with a sickening crack, ending the communication abruptly. Darth Marthael stood over Shulkaharan's body, a sinister grin on his face. Did you really think I wouldn't be able to find the safe if you were dead? Death is merely the beginning in my presence. With a wave of his hand, a powerful life force emanated, enveloping Shulkaharan's corpse. The body began to levitate, the chest wound healing rapidly. Darth Marthael had chosen metal shards for this very reason, avoiding the use of a lightsaber. Moments later, Shulkaharan stood again, alive yet filled with terror. He looked at his hands, the fear in his eyes palpable. Kneeling, he screamed in horror and confusion. Silence! Accept your fate. Now, tell me the true coordinates of Jabbal's safe, Darth Marthael commanded. Heron struggled, his hand covering his mouth in a futile attempt to withhold the information. Despite his best efforts, he couldn't stop himself. His mouth betrayed him, revealing a new set of coordinates uncontrollably. The safe is in the XH88T1L92 galaxy. The designation suggested it was a desolate galaxy, devoid of life. Very well. Next, you will accompany me. When I open this safe, I might require some items for testing, Darth Marthael commanded, his voice cold and authoritative. With a mere wave of his hand, the lifeless bodies of the bodyguards eerily rose to their feet, as if puppeteered by some unseen force. The spaceship, responding to his command, took off once more, setting its course straight for the designated galaxy. Amidst the asteroid belt of this barren galaxy, Darth Marthael's persistence was rewarded. He discovered an ancient iron coffin-like box, exactly where Shulkaharan's coordinates had led him. The moment he laid eyes on it, he knew without a doubt Moore's amulet was inside. Please note, for the latest updates, remember the first domain name of this book. Visit the Apex Novel Network's mobile version for the fastest updates. Vol 2, Chapter 1033, The Laboratory Millennia Ago. Darth Marthael utilized the spacecraft's tractor beam to retrieve an object into the cargo hold for inspection. This artifact, crafted from an unknown black metal, measured approximately 3 meters in length, a little over 1 meter in width, and stood about 0.8 meters tall. The object was a seamless, unified structure without any visible openings, lacking the auxiliary equipment and doors typical of a medical cabin. Yet its shape bore a striking resemblance to one. The only identifiable feature on its surface was a line of characters inscribed in an ancient script, not recognized by the masses, but familiar to Darth Marthael. It was the ancient Sith script, a subject extensively studied by Darth Plagueis, who had imparted this knowledge to Darth Marthael. The inscription read, Drapa's oubliette. Darth Marthael refrained from vocalizing the words, sensing a faint force circulating within the stasis chamber. This subtle energy, imperceptible to the average individual, and even to the less sensitive among those attuned to the Force, signified that the chamber was operational. Opting not to open the stasis capsule immediately, Darth Marthael directed the spacecraft towards the planet of Jabbal. Upon arrival, he observed 2 Geth cruisers stationed in orbit, with numerous insect-like Geth shuttles bustling about. The vicinity bore remnants of a spaceship, likely an ice digger vessel that had ventured too close and met its demise at the hands of the Geth. The mechanical race appeared to be in the process of establishing a factory on the desolate planet, aiming to incorporate Jabbal into their domain. This expansionist ambition unsettled Darth Marthael, though he chose not to intervene, considering other concerns more pressing than the Galactic Republic's stance. The spacecraft landed at a temporary camp established by Zerakus. Amidst the harsh wind and snow, hundreds of Geth were constructing a barrier using ice and steel bars, reinforced with a special spray to elevate the ice's melting point. At the heart of the encampment stood a metallic structure spanning roughly 300 square meters, where Zerakus and Protoss warriors supervised the Geth in unloading the building's contents. "This is what you retrieved from the seabed?" Darth Marthael inquired. "A laboratory of such advanced security measures suggests it was likely dedicated to studying Mor's amulet. Our subsequent analysis confirmed this," Zerakus responded, glancing at Shulk Heron and the bodyguards accompanying Darth Marthael. "It appears you've once again danced with death and emerged victorious." Approaching the stasis chamber, Zerakus suggested, "Given that the laboratory's owner was also investigating this artifact, it would be prudent to analyze the experimental data from the lab before attempting to open it." Darth Marthael, in no rush, nodded in agreement. While awaiting the completion of Zerakus's excavation efforts, Darth Marthael returned to the spacecraft to assess the ongoing conflict involving the Fourth Civilization. Admiral Severance Tan continued the siege on the planet Eliadu, launching nuclear missiles from the fully occupied satellite to breach the planet's defensive shield. With the shield's integrity waning, Wilhoff Taken had deployed his remaining fleets for a last stand within the planet's atmosphere. The Galactic Republic, having tacitly approved these actions, was actively applying pressure from various angles. The Galactic Republic sought to influence the military operations of the Fourth Civilization. Leading the charge, Octavian Grant and his 20th Army relentlessly attacked the Yago-Dur system. Despite their repeated setbacks against this formidable natural defense, their strategy was clear: to gradually weaken the system's defenses through continuous reinforcements. Simultaneously, Master Yoda spearheaded a raiding fleet into the Kuna star cluster, re-establishing contact with the Iru people. The Iru, long oppressed by the Fourth Civilization, seized the opportunity to revolt once more. Moreover, a rebellion was stirring on the planet Celia, located near the model sector. Dol Fermi Bonmi, the current Great Elder of Celia, warned that factions favoring a return to the Galactic Republic were gaining momentum. Without swift action, Celia was on the brink of plunging into its third civil war. Such a conflict would not only disrupt communications between the Fourth Civilization and the Yago-Dur system, but would also compromise the latter's defenses. Despite being the last in number, Octavian Grant's 20th Army, an Inner Ring Legion, enjoyed high priority for reinforcements from the Galactic Republic. These coordinated efforts represented the Republic's strategy in the conflict surrounding the Eliadu galaxy. If direct reinforcement was impossible, then the war would be spread to other regions in the western sector, forcing the enemy to be preoccupied on multiple fronts. Marthael reached out to Volgograd Kennedy, the governor of the Kuna star cluster, with a cold inquiry. "How fares the battle in the Kuna star cluster? Do you require reinforcements?" Volgograd Kennedy appeared worn, yet noticeably heavier, indicating the recent strain of battle and the prosperity under his governance. He responded with measured words, "I am tempted to request reinforcements, Governor. However, doing so would play right into the Galactic Republic's strategy, regardless of our current situation." Doubting the capability of the Kuna star cluster? "Your fleet consists mostly of outdated and decommissioned ships," Darth Marthael remarked. "I am grateful that after acquiring the Blade Fleet, you dispatched a significant number of Z-95 fighter jets. They have provided us with a much-needed boost in firepower," Volgograd Kennedy acknowledged. For the latest updates, please remember the first domain name of this book and visit the Apex Novel Network's mobile-friendly website. Vol 2, Chapter 1034, The Secret of 4,000 Years Ago. Darth Marthael spoke with a tone of finality. "In light of this, I will deprioritize the reinforcement of the Kuna star cluster. The production capabilities of Dawn Planet will now primarily support the operations within the Eliadu galaxy and the Yago-Dur galaxy." "As you wish," Volgograd Kennedy responded, nodding in agreement. Once the communication ended, Darth Marthael turned and made his way outside. Shulk Heron, who had been trailing behind him, was taken aback. You're from the planet of Dawn, he stammered. Darth Marthael spared him a glance but chose not to respond, continuing on his path. Shulk Heron, overwhelmed, collapsed to his knees, and his resurrected bodyguards followed suit, kneeling one after another. With a loud voice, Heron proclaimed, "I am willing to faithfully serve you as my lord, if only you would spare our lives." "You have already died once," Darth Marthael remarked indifferently. We wish to live, and we believe you have the power to grant us that," Heron pleaded. Darth Marthael remained silent, offering only a cold smile before proceeding towards Zerakus. There, Zerakus and his team were diligently working to salvage valuable items from the laboratory, including paper documents, computer hosts, and experimental logs, striving to restore them as much as possible. This task was familiar to them, and they quickly managed to extract some records from the database. Among these records was a secret possibly unknown to the highest echelons of the Galactic Republic's national archives. It was a history narrated from the perspective of the long-lost Crusaders of Mandalore. During the Mandalorian War, 4,000 years ago, the Galactic Republic established the Jabal Wago Tarnit defensive line in this sector. This fortification was deemed unbreachable until the Mandalorians received intelligence that hyperspace communications sent from the planet Terrace had simultaneously ceased, indicating the planet had fallen into silence abruptly. Seizing the opportunity, the Mandalorian senior strategist, Cassus Fett, ancestor to Jango Fett and Boba Fett, made a decisive move. He dispatched the Mandalorian armada to launch a relentless assault on Terrace. However, upon arrival, they discovered that the once thriving planet, known as the Coruscant of the Outer Ring, had been devastated, its main continent ablaze. The Mandalorian battleship's detectors also identified a large-scale dungeon beneath the planet's surface, emitting distinctive signals. Mandalorian scientist Pulsifer speculated that something of significance might be buried there, and sought to investigate the cause of the planet's destruction. Leaving a contingent of troops with Pulsifer, Cassus Fett led the fleet to other targets, systematically dismantling the Republic's painstakingly constructed defensive line over the ensuing months. Meanwhile, Pulsifer initiated his research into the Terrace dungeon. He soon encountered a significant number of Rakh ghouls within the dungeon. Undeterred, the Mandalorian Crusaders established a defensive perimeter to fend off the ghouls while continuing their exploration and research. Pulsifer's investigations led him to discover that these ghouls were created by a powerful ancient artifact, which piqued his interest immensely. As the Mandalorian Crusaders were engaged in conflict with the Galactic Republic, and by extension, the Jedi Knights, they had a vested interest in studying the Force. Pulsifer, one of the most in-depth researchers among the Mandalorians, posited a theory that the Force was reliant on objects, a concept that encompassed a broad range of entities, viewing individuals merely as vessels for the Force. This theory made the ancient artifact of particular interest to Pulsifer, as it could potentially serve as a crucial piece of evidence supporting his hypothesis. In their quest for knowledge, the realization dawned that if the Galactic Republic was willing to obliterate the entire planet of Terrace, then the virus harbored there must possess immense research potential. This virus, if harnessed correctly, could serve as a formidable weapon against the Galactic Republic. Unbeknownst to them at the time, it was Darth Malak, a Sith Lord, and his formidable flagship, the Leviathan, that had decimated the planet, a piece of history tied to the plot of Knights of the Old Republic. Seeking additional support, Pulsifer reached out for reinforcements. Given his esteemed position within the Mandalorian scientific community, Cassus Fett promptly dispatched 1,000,000 troops to aid their cause. This substantial military force, equipped with advanced, fully enclosed armor and helmets to protect against the virus, coupled with the prior orbital bombardment that inflicted severe losses on the Rakh ghouls, enabled Pulsifer and his team to penetrate deep into the Terrace dungeon. It was there, in the dungeon's depths, that Pulsifer discovered the stasis chamber of Lord Draper. However, they encountered relentless waves of Rakh ghouls, which, to their astonishment, exhibited signs of intelligence. These creatures not only scavenged weapons from fallen bodies, but also employed basic tactical maneuvers, such as flanking and ambushing. The Mandalorian Crusaders faced significant casualties during these encounters. In a desperate bid to break the siege, Pulsifer orchestrated the direct entry of several spaceships through the dungeon's vast entrance to provide support, securing a narrow escape route. Despite the overwhelming numbers of Rakghouls consuming the million-strong Mandalorian army, Pulsifer managed to evacuate, taking the stasis module aboard one of his experimental spacecraft for preliminary research. However, their departure was nearly thwarted by the arrival of a Jedi Covenant spaceship. Eager to prevent the Jedi Covenant from seizing the hard-won spoils, Pulsifer hastily departed Taris, leaving behind his experimental spacecraft as a decoy to mislead any pursuers. After reporting back to Cassus Fett, Pulsifer planned to transport the stasis module to the planet Jabal. Under Cassus Fett's command, Jabal had been transformed into a Mandalorian military base, offering the ideal stronghold for safeguarding the stasis module, a sentiment shared by both Pulsifer and Cassus Fett. So this is not merely a laboratory, but an experimental spacecraft. Its capabilities are indeed impressive, Darth Marthael observed. In Pulsifer's experiment log, he detailed some techniques for unlocking this stasis chamber. We should attempt to replicate them, Zirakas suggested. End of the recorded segment. Volume 2, Chapter 35, Mor's Amulet, Part 1. Darth Marthael paused before taking any action, placing his hand on the stasis chamber. He lightly tapped his fingers against its surface, pondering for a moment before speaking. This stasis chamber was designed to isolate and block the power of Mor's amulet. However, the question remains, why is the Rakghoul virus still spreading in the dungeons of planet Taris? He glanced at Zirakas, adding, unless, when Persif discovered the amulet, it wasn't secured within the stasis chamber. The records of their discovery might be incomplete due to the urgency of the situation. It seems we overlooked something crucial earlier. What did we miss? Zirakas inquired. Darth Marthael sneered. Karn Mor's body. It's unfortunate, but it's possible his body was lost in the chaos. Zirakas concluded. So, Persif must have acquired the amulet directly. This also implies that the Rakghoul virus had already begun to spread by that time. Exactly, Darth Marthael affirmed. He approached a computer, connecting a universal tool to compile the data. After a moment, he highlighted a message. Look at this. After Cassus Fett conquered the planet Jabul, he transformed it into a massive military base. He could dispatch 1 million troops to Persif without a second thought. This gives us a glimpse into the peak of the Mandalorian crusade. He tapped on the message, continuing. Here, it shows that 8.13 million troops were assembled from various planets in the Outer Ring, undergoing training and receiving equipment. Their target was the planet Alderaan. Alderaan? Zirakas mused, stroking his chin thoughtfully. Darth Marthael's tone darkened. Yes, according to records from the Galactic Republic, there was no invasion of Alderaan during the Mandalorian Wars 4,000 years ago. Over 8 million troops, including logistics, would total more than 30 million, yet the invasion never commenced. He walked over to the remains of a spaceship, observing its size. This spaceship was massive, at least 200 meters long, and this is merely the laboratory section. Pulsifer began his research on Mor's amulet and the stasis chamber immediately upon landing. However, the records ceased the moment he boarded the spaceship. Approaching the stasis chamber, Darth Marthael ran his hand over its smooth exterior. Pulsifer was merely a pawn in this entire affair. Once he delivered Mor's amulet to the planet Jabal, he became expendable. His research holds no value because he lacked understanding of the Force's power. He then recited an ancient Sith incantation. In the name of the Sith, follow the path of darkness, and let the secrets of Lord Drapa be unveiled. A golden light emanated from the center of the stasis chamber, splitting its smooth shell in two before slowly opening. Prepare for a confrontation. Talim, come here. Zirakas, return to the spaceship, Darth Marthael instructed calmly. Shulka Heron and a few bodyguards attempted to leave, but found themselves immobilized, unable to take a single step. Aren't you curious about what lies within this chamber? You've stumbled upon a secret not even recorded in the most confidential archives of the Galactic Republic. The time for revelation is now, Darth Marthael stated icily. Talim, the Temple Guardian, had silently positioned himself behind the group, blocking their exit. His presence wasn't out of obedience to Darth Marthael, but rather because the Protoss held no sympathy for these mortals. Without Darth Marthael's intervention, Talim would have reduced them to dust instantly. As the stasis chamber's hatch opened, a dense mist spilled out, revealing its contents to the sunlight for the first time in 4,000 years. Inside lay a beautiful. The woman before them possessed a unique beauty, with wheat-colored skin and long, flowing black hair. She was clad in a light combat armor, reminiscent of designs favored by those with heightened abilities over 4,000 years ago. The armor was strategically designed to protect vital areas while allowing for maximum mobility. Years of rigorous training had sculpted her body, leaving her abdomen tight and exposed, accentuating her slender yet formidable figure. However, it was not just her physical appearance that was striking. A distinct aura of valor emanated from her, particularly noticeable in the determined set of her brows, lending her an air of extraordinary bravery. Yet, amidst her formidable presence, her eyes remained closed, her long eyelashes fluttering slightly as if in the midst of awakening from a long slumber. The most captivating feature, however, was the golden ornament that adorned her neck. This peculiar piece resembled an insect with a long tail and 6 chelicerae, and it was embedded with 8 blood-red gemstones that mimicked the insect's eyes. The ornament, known as Mor's Amulet, an ancient Sith artifact reputed to summon armies of the dead, clung tightly to her neck, impossible to remove. Suddenly, her eyes snapped open, and she gasped, "Zane, is that you?" Upon seeing the 2 star spirits, Yu and Darth Marthael, standing nearby, she instantly became alert. With swift movements, she reached for the hilt of her lightsaber, which lay beside her, and demanded, "Who are you? What time is it?" If you're inquiring about the war between the Galactic Republic and the Mandalorian Crusade, I can provide a more precise time frame. That conflict commenced 3,956 years ago, Darth Marthael responded with a hint of indifference. The year 3,956, you mean to say, she trailed off, disbelief coloring her tone. Yes, Miss Celeste Morn, you have been in stasis for nearly 4,000 years, Darth Marthael confirmed. Celeste Morn's reaction was a mix of shock and excitement as she struggled to her feet. 4,000 years? What has become of the Republic? The war. The Mandalorian War spanned 16 years, concluding 2 years after you were placed in the stasis chamber, Darth Marthael explained, his smile tinged with mockery. You'll find the galaxy now under the rule of the Republic, not the Mandalorians. Attachment 1 of the Easter egg chapter. Celeste Morn preparing to enter the stasis chamber. Attachment 2 of the Easter egg chapter. Celeste Morn, commanding an army of countless Lok ghouls, with the amulet prominently displayed around her neck. In the next chapter, a detailed image of the amulet will be provided, as the Easter egg chapter is limited to 2 pictures. Please remember the first domain name of this book for the fastest updates on the Apex Novel Network mobile version. Vol 2, Chapter 1036, Mor's Amulet, middle. Celeste Moan's heart raced with confusion and fear. No, this isn't right, she muttered, her gaze sweeping across the icy landscape. Where are we? Where is this place? Planet Jabal, Darth Marthael replied, his voice devoid of emotion. Why am I still on Jabal? Where is Zane? No, I should be at the Ascension Temple in Oberyn. Why am I still here? Celeste's voice rose in panic and disbelief. After you were placed in the stasis chamber, the Mandalorian fleet launched a devastating orbital bombardment on the planet. Tens of thousands of nuclear bombs razed the planet to its core. Darth Marthael explained, his tone somber. Celeste's hand instinctively went to her neck, feeling the cold touch of Mor's amulet against her skin. A shadow fell over her face as the reality of her situation sank in. So, if I'm not in the Temple of the Ascension and the research on the Jedi Covenant hasn't begun, then this means the amulet still poses a threat to the entire galaxy. Why would you open the stasis chamber? Do you know who I am? She demanded, her confusion turning into anger. With a swift motion, a yellow lightsaber sprang to life from her metal hilt, reflecting the determination in Celeste's eyes. I can accept that 4,000 years have passed, but the fact that you still know of the amulet and me after all this time means you've continued our research. You're aware of the amulet's power to destroy the galaxy, yet you chose to awaken me. You must desire its power for your own ambitions. Impossible. her voice crescendoed with accusation. Before she could finish, Celeste leaped from the stasis cabin, her lightsaber aimed straight at Darth Marthael's chest. However, he remained unfazed, a mocking smile playing on his lips. Suddenly, her attack was thwarted by a mysterious figure who materialized in front of her. This being was unlike any Celeste had encountered before. Its skin was tough and smooth, lacking any facial features, with eyes that radiated a powerful light. To Celeste, this seemed like a formidable manifestation of the Force, albeit slightly different. The figure was Talim, the temple's guardian. "Who are you? Where do you come from?" Celeste demanded, her lightsaber moving in a blur, executing more than a dozen strikes in rapid succession. Talim, unfazed, countered each attack with precise movements of the lightsaber integrated into his wrist armor. His combat style was not just about physical movements, it was deeply rooted in spiritual energy, exuding immense power. Initially, Celeste fought with ferocity, but it wasn't long before she found herself on the defensive. Within minutes, she was struggling to parry Talim's relentless attacks. Darth Marthael observed the duel from a distance, his interest not only in Celeste, but also in assessing the strength of Talim and the Protoss. Despite the Protoss not being known for their combat prowess, and Talim's advanced age diminishing his strength, he was still a formidable opponent. In the hierarchy of the Mothership, he was considered legendary. Celeste, though a match for an ordinary Jedi Master, was clearly outmatched by Talim. Her proficiency in swordsmanship and her ability to manipulate the Force to wield ice shards as weapons were ineffective against the Protoss. Talim's combat prowess did not rely on telekinesis or precognition, nor did he deflect projectiles with his lightsaber. His strength lay in his vast combat experience and spiritual resilience. The Jedi Knights might possess abilities that the Protoss lacked, but in the realm of pure combat skill and spiritual might, Talim demonstrated that there were powers beyond the Force that could prevail. In theory, every seasoned Protoss warrior is a match for a Jedi Knight. However, Celeste Morn found herself at a disadvantage when Darth Marthael exploited a momentary lapse in her control of the Force. With a sneer, Darth Marthael unleashed a formidable force that caught Celeste off guard, sending her flying with a resounding impact. Seizing the opportunity, Talim delivered a spectacular flying kick. The aesthetics of a Protoss's kick, with their legs extending more than 2 meters due to their unique double-knee joint structure, was truly a sight to behold. Darth Marthael couldn't help but admire the technique, thinking how formidable the Protoss would be if they could all master such moves. The force of Talim's kick sent Celeste skidding across the ice, her lightsaber slipping from her grasp. Darth Marthael effortlessly summoned the lightsaber to his hand and approached the struggling Celeste. "Enough of this resistance," he said calmly. "Surrender to me and fulfill your destiny." Struggling to her feet, Celeste wiped the blood from her mouth and glared at Darth Marthael. "You speak like a true Sith, vile and deceitful," she accused, unable to discern his true allegiance due to his skillful concealment. An unexpected, ancient voice then emerged from Celeste, deep and commanding. A spectral figure of an elderly man in robes appeared, his sparse white hair framing his face with a certain dignity. "Carnes Moore, so your spirit lingers," Darth Marthael remarked with a smirk. "You recognize me, the amulet, and this unworthy vessel?" Carnes Moore responded, his laughter echoing until it suddenly ceased. His gaze hardened as he scrutinized Darth Marthael. "There's something different about you. Wait! You're a Sith!" His realization was met with laughter. Only the dark side's resonance could reveal a Force sensitive like you. Brilliant! Celeste, taken aback, stared at Darth Marthael. "You're a Sith? But how? The Sith were believed to be extinct." "The Sith endure, Celeste," Darth Marthael replied nonchalantly, his focus still on Carnes Moore's spirit. "Impressive. You have the potential to shape the future of this galaxy alongside me," Carnes Moore declared. "This body serves no purpose. Remove the amulet. Decide her fate." Note, attached is the Easter egg chapter, Carnes Moore and the Amulet. Please remember the original domain of this book for the fastest updates. Darth Marthael smiled faintly and inquired, "Join us. What exactly do you bring to the table that would make you a valuable ally? A fleet? How substantial is it?" Carnes Moore, puzzled by the term K, responded confidently, A fleet I do not possess. However, I am endowed with an endless reservoir of dark knowledge and a potent source of darkness. Furthermore, with this amulet, I have the power to transform countless beings into our legion. United, we will be unstoppable. So, all I need to do is remove this amulet from her neck. Darth Marthael mused, advancing towards Celeste Morn with deliberate steps. Celeste Morn's demeanor shifted as she retreated, her voice laced with disdain. "Stay back! You vile Sith! If only I could end you here and now!" "I doubt you're capable of that," Darth Marthael retorted calmly, continuing his approach. He thought to himself that a more fitting line might be, "Your protests will be in vain," but lamented the lack of creativity in his adversary. Trapped with no escape, Celeste Morn realized her lightsaber was in Darth Marthael's possession, rendering her defenseless. Panic and fury surged within her as she exclaimed, "Sith, your arrogance knows no bounds." Carnsmore chuckled sinisterly. "Accept your fate, Celeste. It's been 4,000 years. Those you knew are long gone. You're merely a relic of a bygone era. Death would be a mercy." "I will not perish. Before this amulet is destroyed, I refuse to fall." Celeste Morn's condition visibly deteriorated as she declared, unleashing a torrent of dark origin force. The intensity of this power forced even Darth Marthael to step back in awe. This display of might was so formidable that it reminded Darth Marthael of his own master, Darth Plagueis. "I will not let you triumph. Sith, never!" Celeste Morn, now seemingly transformed, radiated power, indifference, and disdain for all life. Suddenly, a spaceship swiftly approached, its arrival interrupting the confrontation. An overconfident voice boomed from the intercom. "My brother's spaceship went missing in this vicinity. Are you responsible?" As the spaceship landed and its hatch opened, a band of menacing Wakui armed with blaster rifles emerged. Their leader boldly declared, "Who dares to cause trouble on Daros within the bounds of planet Jabul, seeking death?" However, his bravado faltered upon assessing the scene. Facing him were a few formidable figures, a woman in a black robe wielding a blood-red lightsaber, a majestic armored woman, and spectral figures floating nearby, all armed and dangerous. Their collective gaze fixed on him. Realizing his mistake, the leader of the Wakui hastily retreated to his spaceship, muttering into his communicator, "Hey Mom, no need to worry, I'll be home for dinner." Amidst the tension, Celeste Morn's fury reached its zenith as she roared, "You will all meet your end." With a loud gesture, he raised his hand and swept it lightly in front of him, unleashing a powerful force that pierced the sky with precision. The terrifying energy swept across the area, generating a gust of wind that blew everything around it away. The group of intruders, caught off guard, screamed in agony, clutching their heads. Beneath their skin, something writhed violently, desperate to break free. Eventually, it succeeded. Their skin began to tear as new tissue emerged, consuming the old body as nutrients. They endured this transformation fully conscious, witnessing their bodies mutate, their skin rip, internal organs burst, and even their bones shatter to make way for new growth. The screams were relentless, painting a scene straight out of a horror movie. Darth Marthael observed the group of smugglers, resurrected by his power, standing dumbfounded and petrified. Contrary to expectations, they did not undergo mutation. Amidst the screams, the transformation was complete. Their skin turned dark brown, becoming tougher and more elastic than that of ordinary creatures. Their muscles bulged abnormally. They had only 3 toes and fingers, each ending in sharp claws capable of slicing through metal. At the center of their heads was a single compound eye. They had become rak ghouls. After mutating, the rak ghouls immediately retrieved the blasting rifles they had dropped and opened fire on Darth Marthael. Countless energy beams shot towards him. Darth Marthael, wielding his lightsaber, deflected the blasts, but astonishingly, several beams from the rak ghouls remained unscathed, continuing their assault. "No! How is that possible? Who allowed you to use my power?" Carnsmore bellowed in disbelief. However, Celeste Morn paid him no heed. Seizing the moment Darth Marthael was distracted by the rak ghouls, she charged towards the temple guardian, Talim. Without a lightsaber, she raised her hand, summoning a powerful bolt of lightning. Talim raised his lightsaber in defense, but the lightning's force was overwhelming, propelling him backward. Please remember the first domain name of this book for the fastest updates on the Apex Novel Network mobile version. Vol 2, Chapter 1038, The Strongest Enemy, Part 1. Celeste Morn had undergone a transformation that left her almost unrecognizable. The power she wielded was now steeped in darkness, a stark contrast to her previous embodiment of light. Her newfound strength was formidable, to say the least. Tillum found himself overpowered in an instant, thrown back by a surge of lightning. He skidded across the slippery ice before regaining his footing. Without a word, he charged again, lightsaber in hand, only to find Celeste more formidable than before. Dark lightning crackled from her fingertips, its force tearing through the surroundings. Huge chunks of black ice were ripped from the ground and hurled towards him, preventing any approach. In the midst of this chaos, Darth Marthael made his move. With a swift advance, he deflected a massive shard of black ice with a wave of his hand. His wrist gauntlet glowed, activating a force barrier that shattered another incoming piece of ice. Carnes Moore, observing from a distance, was taken aback by the display. Unfamiliar with the Sith artifact in use, he nonetheless sensed a familiar aura emanating from it. As he pondered, the battle escalated rapidly. The Protoss warriors swiftly eliminated the Wyquans-turned-Rak ghouls, while Darth Marthael confronted Celeste Morn, his lightsaber clashing against her relentless lightning. Talim, the guardian of the Star Spirit Temple, attempted another attack from behind. Yet, in the midst of battle, he was the least of Celeste's concerns. Suddenly, Darth Marthael shifted his focus, reaching out towards Carnes Moore with a hand that burst into black gas, filled with silent, wailing faces. Carnes, initially dismissive, realized the grave threat as he felt the potent death force in Darth Marthael's grasp. He attempted to retreat to Celeste's side, but it was too late. Darth Marthael had already seized him, even though Carnes's form was but a phantom. The black mist began to corrupt Carnes Moore's soul, prompting a desperate outcry. "No! Why can you touch me? Who are you?" As Carnes struggled, Talim seized the moment to attack Celeste again. She dodged narrowly and countered with a powerful kick, sending Talim crashing into a spaceship, blood spilling from his mouth. Darth Marthael, with a sinister smile, addressed the panicking Carnes. "You're right, Carnes Moore. I'll gladly take this amulet, but your concern is misplaced." Carnes, enraged and frantic, accused, "Your target has been me all along? You've been plotting this from the start?" Darth Marthael's response was chilling. "Without you, the amulet is easily mine." Carnes, however, regained his composure, his eyes burning with fury. "You underestimate us. The Sith of 7,000 years past knew powers you can't even imagine." At this revelation, Darth Marthael's confidence wavered. He witnessed Carnes Moore beginning to break free from his grasp, his dark side force astonishingly potent, perhaps even surpassing Darth Marthael's own master, Darth Plagueis. Carnes's power hinted at a depth of the dark side that Darth Marthael had yet to comprehend, challenging everything he thought he knew about his own strength and the legacy of the Sith. Darth Marthael, having witnessed the formidable powers of Master Windu and Count Dooku, recognized that Carnes Moore possessed a strength surpassing both. Meanwhile, as Carnes Moore began to break free from Darth Masair's influence, Celeste Morn rose once more, her body encircled by potent force lightning. "We must unite, Celeste. The true threat to the Galactic Republic stands before us," Carnes Moore urged, emphasizing the gravity of the situation by highlighting the enemy's fleet and their intentions against the Republic. Celeste Morn, clutching a wound on his chest and speaking through clenched teeth, retorted, "Both of you are tyrants destined to drag the galaxy into darkness. You both deserve to perish." Carnes Moore, desperate, argued, "Your choices are limited. Without a physical form, my strength will soon fade. Imagine the havoc I could wreak under his control." Darth Marthael, unable to directly dominate a force as mighty as Carnes Moore, resorted to cunning, revealing a shocking truth. "Oh, Carnes Moore, you are oblivious to the galaxy's true peril. What if I told you that the current speaker of the Galactic Republic is none other than the Sith Lord Darth Sidious? The Republic's downfall isn't my doing. It's the result of Darth Sidious' machinations and his instigation of a civil war." Carnes Moore's expression darkened at the revelation. "So, Darth Sidious is the speaker. Should your descendants consider this an honor?" he mocked. "As a first-generation Sith Lord, I could indeed call you an ancestor. But it's time for you to meet your end," Darth Marthael declared, raising his hand, adorned with little Kleish's gauntlet. He conjured a formidable force barrier, not for defense, but to sever the connection between Carnsmore and Celeste Morn. Realizing the imminent danger, Carnsmore panicked. "Hurry! He's about to control me!" At that moment, Celeste Morn unleashed a powerful cry, summoning an onslaught of force lightning from the sky. The lightning, dense and relentless, shattered the ground, creating vast craters wherever it struck. The storm intensified, forming a fearsome grid that prevented any approach. Darth Marthel, moments away from seizing Carnsmore's core, found himself encased in the lightning storm. Struggling to maintain the barrier with little Kleish's gauntlet while fending off the relentless assault, he faced a critical decision. Ultimately, he released the power of death, focusing all his energy on shielding himself. Then, with a thunderous explosion, the lightning blasted him away. In the aftermath, the phantom of Carnsmore merged with Celeste Morn, their combined form exuding an aura of unparalleled power. Despite the fusion, Carnsmore's presence dominated, enveloping Celeste like a protective cloak. Darth Marthiel, rising unharmed but significantly weakened, regarded the merged entity of Celeste and Carnes with a solemn expression. He recognized the immense threat they posed, recalling a future conflict where they vanquished Darth K, a testament to their formidable strength. Once known as the most formidable Sith, Ryder posed a threat of unimaginable proportions. The spectral visage of Carnsmore twisted into a mocking sneer, a mirror image of the expression that played across Celeste Morn's face. Their laughter intertwined, echoing ominously. "Ah! Yes, that's right. Surrender your body to me, Celeste. With you as my vessel, I can unleash power beyond my former glory as the strongest Sith. Together, we are invincible." With deliberate steps, he advanced, and the lightsaber that Celeste Morn had dropped during their earlier confrontation flew back into his grasp with a swift motion. The moment it settled in his hand, the blade ignited, casting a yellow glow that was quickly suffused with a dark, malevolent energy. Before their eyes, the color of the blade transformed into a sinister blood red. Assuming a battle stance, Celeste Caines pointed the tip of the sword downward, a silent declaration of the true battle that was about to commence. Now, the real fight begins. For the latest updates, remember to visit the official website of Apex Novel Network. Vol 2, Chapter 1039, The Strongest Enemy. As Carnsmore and Celeste Morn advanced, their aura darkening and becoming more formidable with each step, Darth Marthael realized the gravity of the situation. If he couldn't talk his way out of this, a fierce battle was inevitable. Celeste Morn had made her choice. Faced with two demon kings threatening the Galactic Republic, she opted for the lesser of two evils, Carnsmore. Unlike Darth Marthael, Carnsmore was deemed more manageable by Celeste, especially since he was temporarily residing within her. Taking a deep breath to center himself, Darth Marthael gripped his lightsaber, adopting the Ataru stance, the fourth-style sword technique, bracing himself to confront the most formidable enemy he had ever faced. Meanwhile, his thoughts raced. "Lucian, can you do anything? I know your Jedi Covenant is committed to this cause." Lucian Dry responded with a cold tone. "Why seek me out now, great Sith Lord? Shouldn't someone of your stature easily dispose of him? If there's any hope left in this galaxy, you'd know whether to assist me or him," Darth Marthael retorted. After a moment of silence, Lucian Dry explained, "Celeste Morn is among the finest shadows within the Jedi Covenant. These shadows are Jedi Knights specially trained to handle extreme situations, skilled in combat, intelligence gathering, and even assassination. They lead double lives, ordinary citizens on one side and cold-blooded warriors on the other. Yet, each shadow possesses a heart of unwavering strength and purity." Darth Marthael pondered this. Although Celeste Morn's power seemed insignificant compared to his, it was all relative. After awakening from a 4,000-year slumber, she faced one of the galaxy's only two Sith Lords and the guardian of the Protoss Temple, alongside the oldest Sith Lord. By those standards, her qualifications might seem lacking. However, considering she achieved the level of a Jedi Master by her 30s and made a sound judgment in a dire situation, it was clear she was not only resilient, but also strategically minded. As a shadow, Celeste Morn was indeed exceptional. Lucian Dry continued, "As for Carnsmore, his legend precedes him. A former member of the Jedi Order, he was among the first to delve into the dark side of the Force, unmatched in his understanding and research. After the Battle of Corbus, he was exiled to Coloban, where he merged the dark side of the Force with the Sith teachings revered by the locals, rising to become one of the first Sith Lords. "I'm not looking for a biography," Darth Marthael interjected. "That's all I have to say," Lucien Dry replied with a sneer. "If Carnsmore defeats you, it's what you deserve. The entities on the outskirts of this planet won't let him escape. Here, without the means to transform Muir's talisman, Carnsmore's fate is likely to be a solitary death on this desolate world. Meanwhile, Darth Marthael, a significant threat to the galaxy, would be eradicated. Wouldn't that be a fitting end?" With a stern gaze, Darth Marthael took a step back, adjusting his stance while seamlessly blending his power with the environment. In that moment, he was like a force of nature, with every element around him within his perception and control. Carnsmore, meanwhile, positioned his sword tipped downward, adopting a stance of stillness. This was the Makashi stance, the second-style sword technique, signaling that Carnsmore was not only a formidable duelist, but also a master of lightsaber combat. The Makashi style, while not optimal for battlefield confrontations, Darth Marthael was a master of one-on-one lightsaber duels, a skill honed under the tutelage of Darth Plagueis. Unfortunately, his training had never covered the second style of swordsmanship, a gap in his knowledge that he was painfully aware of. Count Dooku, a known master of this elusive style, was not an option for him to learn from. Lucien Del Rey's cryptic messages hinted at opportunities for growth, suggesting that all was not lost for Darth Marthael. His presence here was a testament to that belief. With determination in his eyes, Darth Marthael ignited his blood-red lightsaber and charged forward, embodying the aggressive essence of the Ataru swordsmanship style. His philosophy was clear: to advance and attack relentlessly, for retreat was not an option for a practitioner of Ataru. As his lightsaber danced, it unleashed a horde of black wraiths, spiritual entities capable of assaulting the very soul of his opponent, Carnsmore. However, Carnsmore, whose body was under the control of Celeste Morn, displayed remarkable composure. With a swift and precise movement, his lightsaber pierced through the wraiths, dissipating them into smoke. As Darth Marthael's attack continued, Carn Celeste parried with a mocking smile, his lightsaber finding its way towards Darth Marthael's ribs in an impossibly quick maneuver. But the attack was halted by an invisible force barrier, which then surged towards Carn Celeste with great force. Carn Celeste's eyes gleamed with greed as he observed the gauntlet on Darth Marthael's wrist, recognizing it as a powerful artifact of Sith alchemy. Without hesitation, he launched another assault, his lightsaber moving with such speed that it seemed to create phantoms of itself. His mastery over the Force was evident as he manipulated the environment, summoning Force lightning that narrowed Darth Marthael's avenues for evasion. Yet, Darth Marthael stood his ground, using the gauntlet to shield himself from the lightning while maintaining his aggressive stance. Despite being unable to match Carn Celeste's speed, he focused on a decisive strike aimed at his opponent's head, challenging him to face the attack head-on. Carn Celeste, forced to retreat, dodged the attack and countered with a powerful blast of Force lightning that sent Darth Marthael flying. At that moment, Talim, the guardian of the temple, joined the fray. His lightsaber skills, while refined, were not enough to bridge the gap in power between him and Carn Celeste. A net of deadly lightning ensnared Talim, leaving him no escape. In a critical moment, Darth Marthael intervened, placing himself between Talim and the lethal attack with a force barrier. Without looking back, he addressed Talim, emphasizing the need for cooperation to survive the encounter. Carn Celeste, undeterred, laughed menacingly and charged forward, signaling the continuation of the fierce battle. Amidst a tempest of unending lightning, Darth Marthael stood enveloped in a formidable aura of Force lightning, so potent that it carved a ravine several meters deep into the ground wherever he tread. With each swing of his lightsaber, a myriad of lightning bolts danced around him like serpents and dragons, a spectacle of power that even Darth Marthael, in his might, found daunting to confront directly. This battle marked a departure from his previous encounters. Whereas he had once relied on his own strength and skill, augmented only occasionally by the gauntlet of Little Kleish, now he found himself wholly dependent on the divine weapon's power for survival. Without the protective embrace of Little Kleish's gauntlet, Darth Marthel would have swiftly met his demise under the relentless assault of lightning. This confrontation was the first since his arrival in this world where he leaned entirely on the divine weapon's might. With the gauntlet's force barrier shielding both Talim and himself, the battle surged forward anew. Under its protection, Talim could unleash his exquisite swordsmanship, while Darth Marthel focused on countering the force lightning unleashed by Karn's Celeste. In this moment of respite, Darth Marthel found a sliver of opportunity to strategize. Karn's Celeste, for all their power, was not without vulnerability. This insight was gleaned from Lucien Del Rey's revelations. An ordinary Sith, overwhelmed by anger and fear, would succumb to the dark side's influence, losing themselves in the fray, and ultimately falling to Karn's Celeste's superior might. But Darth Marthel was no Ord, Inari Sith. Trained by Darth Plagueis, he was taught the importance of mastering his emotions, a lesson that even Darth Sidious, despite his disdain for Plagueis, acknowledged as valuable. The key to overcoming Karn's Celeste lay in Celeste Morn. Despite being under Karn's Mor's control, Celeste's heart remained untainted, her inner light steadfast. This purity of spirit, even in the midst of battle, was the weapon Lucien Del Rey had entrusted to Darth Marthel to counter the Sith Demon King Karn's Mor. But Marthel had his own arsenal, the power of death. His mastery over this domain, honed through relentless practice and study, was profound. His journey into the heart of darkness on Dagobah had deepened his understanding of the dark side and, more crucially, his own connection to the force of death. Now, armed with the insights gained from Dagobah, Darth Marthel was poised to delve into even darker realms, seeking the ultimate darkness on the planet Caliban. The confrontation with Karn's Mor was a pivotal test. Overcoming this foe was essential before venturing to Caliban. It wasn't a matter of surpassing Karn's Mor in strength, but of leveraging his mastery over death to restrain Karn's Mor's soul-bound might. As the battle raged on, the fusion of Karn's Mor and Celeste Morn presented a formidable challenge, yet one that Darth Marthel was now uniquely equipped to face. Merging Morn's essence with Celeste's living form, Darth Marthel sought to neutralize Malthael's deadly energy. However, this was merely a temporary solution. The choice of the battlefield, the planet Jabul, held a deeper significance. Amidst the chaos, bolts of powerful force, lightning rained down. Darth Marthel, with swift movements, parried the lightning with his lightsaber, while simultaneously using the force barrier from Little Kleish's gauntlet to fend off Karn Celeste's attacks on Talim. In a brief lull in the intense combat, Darth Marthel thrust his lightsaber into the planet's exceptionally hard black ice surface. Arise, wronged souls of Jabul! Arise, innocent victims! The one responsible for your demise stands among us. Let your fury be heard. Roar, let your anger erupt. Following Darth Marthel's thunderous command, a chilling sound echoed, and a pitch-black arm burst through the ice, reaching outwards. Then came another and another, until countless dark arms emerged from beneath the surface, each one a testament to the planet's tormented past. For the latest updates, please bookmark the first domain name of this book on the Apex Novel Network's mobile-friendly website. Vol 2, Chapter 1040, The Strongest Enemy, Part 2. Darth Marthel thrust his lightsaber into the frozen ground of Jabul, channeling a potent force of death into the icy terrain. In that instant, the souls of countless victims on the planet were awakened by his necrotic power. The numbers were staggering. Over 8 million Mandalorian Crusaders, more than 20 million support staff, and nearly 100 million residents, all perished in a single day due to the orbital bombardment orchestrated by Cassus Fett, triggered by a virus spread by Karn's Mor using an amulet. The remains of these countless souls were preserved within the planet's vast glaciers, occasionally discovered by ice miners even after thousands of years. The souls, trapped within the dark, endless ice, were now stirred to action. A dark, withered hand broke through the ice, its skin torn, hanging in strips, a sight both grim and eerie. Black smoke seeped from the ice, forming faces that howled and screamed into the air. Below the surface, an ominous green light began to glow, mixing with the black ice in a haunting display. The area affected by this necrotic energy expanded rapidly, reaching 2 kilometers in diameter. The scene was filled with countless arms piercing through the ice and a multitude of black, resentful spirits swirling around, as if beneath the ice lay a hidden world of ghosts. Karn's Moor, inhabiting Celeste's body, was visibly shaken by Darth Malthael's display of power. He attempted to retreat, but found himself ensnared by the emerging hands. With swift strikes of his lightsaber, he severed the grasping limbs, yet more continued to emerge. The air was filled with the screams of the spirits, their howls seeming to pierce his very soul. These pathetic illusions! Do you think they can defeat me? Far from it, Karn Celeste declared defiantly, facing Darth Malthael. With a wave of his hand, he summoned a storm of lightning, reducing the black arms to ash. Ha! See, your tricks are merely temporary distractions, Karn Celeste boasted, dismissing the arms as mere illusions with limited power. He reasoned that the corpses, despite being preserved, had been weakened by the bombardment and the glacial cycles, rendering them fragile. In his view, Darth Malthael's efforts amounted to nothing more than ineffective theatrics, incapable of influencing the battle's outcome. Prepare to meet your end. Your power is no match for mine. Perhaps in 50 years you might pose a challenge, but without this gauntlet, you're as good as dead. And even now, you won't last long. How long can you sustain such an elaborate illusion? Karn Celeste taunted, his laughter echoing as he prepared another devastating lightning strike. The lightning continued to rain down, destroying the black arms only for more to emerge, seemingly without end. Karn Celeste, undeterred, gathered more lightning in his hand, ready to unleash another barrage. In a moment of intense anticipation, countless bolts of lightning converged upon his left hand. The brilliance was so intense it was nearly blinding, and the power it harbored was even more formidable. This strike was poised to determine the victor. However, Karn, also known as Celeste, suddenly sensed something amiss. His expression twisted in realization and horror. "No! What have you done? My power is fading." Karn Celeste discovered, to his dismay, that his strength was ebbing away. His movements became sluggish, and the lightning that once danced confidently in his grasp now flickered uncertainly. "What have you done to me?" he demanded, panic edging into his voice. It didn't take long for him to understand the grim reality of his situation. Surrounding him were countless arms and vengeful spirits, amidst them a faint green glow. He was in a separate realm, the realm of the dead, the underworld itself. Here, Darth Malthael reigned supreme. Most crucially, Karn Moor realized he, too, was part of this realm. In this desolate world dominated by death, Celeste Moen's physical form was perilously fragile, akin to a water-filled balloon facing the onslaught of tempestuous waves. Karn Moor was merely the soul within that balloon, vulnerable to the inevitable burst that would merge him indistinguishably with the vast ocean around him. At that point, he would be utterly at the mercy of others. This was Darth Malthael's strategy all along. Despite Karn Moor's superiority in strength, knowledge, skills, and swordsmanship, and even with Little Kleish's gauntlet offering him a temporary reprieve, he was no match for Darth Malthael's ultimate weapon, the power of death. Darth Malthael controlled death itself, and Karn Moor was nothing but a dead man from 7,000 years ago. Darth Malthael's smile was grotesque as he revealed his trump card. "You can attack with all your might, defend with all your skill, and prevent any assault, but I have one advantage, plus 1,000% damage to the undead. You are the undead." Karn Celeste staggered back, the lightning in his hand dissipating. He could feel it, Celeste Moen's body succumbing to the encroaching death. His soul felt as if it was being shredded by the very world around him, attempting to extricate him from Celeste's body. The weaker his physical bond to Celeste became, the more diminished his powers grew. The outcome, if this continued, was inevitable. But Darth Malthael was far from done. He raised his voice. "You fail to grasp the gravity of our situation, Celeste. A civil war has erupted across the galaxy. The catalyst was the Sith Lord Darth Sidious ascending to the presidency of the Republic. He orchestrated for his apprentice, Darth Tyrannus, to incite rebellion in the galaxy's outer ring, sparking a civil war. This war is a meticulously planned civil conflict by Darth Sidious. He controls both factions, The Jedi Order is being drained in this conflict, engaging in senseless slaughter, depleting the prestige it has built over 25,000 years. The day will come when both the Galactic Republic and the Jedi Order will meet their demise. Darth Malthael's words struck Celeste Moen like a series of daggers, each revelation more painful than the last. Vol 2, Chapter 1041, The Seal. Carnsmore roared with defiance. Don't listen to his lies. Remember, he's a Sith too. His strength was waning rapidly, and he felt Celeste's resistance growing stronger. The Galactic Empire will rise from the ashes of the Republic and the Jedi Order. Darth Sidious will dominate the galaxy. Darth Malthael declared, his voice echoing with conviction. I know you can hear me, Celeste. As of now, my goals align with those of the Jedi Order, for I am the only one standing against Darth Sidious. In that moment, Talim, the guardian of the Star Spirit Temple, charged forward, lightsaber in hand. Kanes, merged with Celeste, parried with his sword. The exchange was fierce, and he found it increasingly difficult to fend off the seasoned Protoss warrior with the ease he once had. Darth Malthael pressed on, his rhetoric sharp. The army of the Galactic Republic is composed of clones, bred from childhood to be unfeeling killing machines. The Jedi Knights, leading such forces, have been complicit in countless deaths, whether they intended to or not. The very foundation of the Jedi Knights is crumbling. I may be a Sith, but my only desire is for my home in the western reaches of the Milky Way, the Endor, Haven, and Eliadu systems. The fate of the Galactic Republic, the galaxy at large, is of no concern to me, but Darth Sidious will not allow me this. He seeks my destruction to consolidate his power, aspiring to become a tyrant of darkness. Look around at the galaxy. See the pervasive darkness emanating from Coruscant, the fields of carnage wrought by the clone army under Jedi command. Darth Malthael gestured, revealing a small gauntlet. Carnsmore may not recognize this, but you should. This is Lucien Del Rey's gauntlet, entrusted to me. Celeste Morn's eyes widened in shock. That's impossible. If 4,000 years have passed, Master Lucien cannot still exist. His spirit endures. He left the gauntlet in his shrine on the Moondray II, intending to rebuild the Jedi Covenant there before abandoning the idea. His spirit has since guarded the temple until I arrived. He trusted me with the gauntlet. He informed me that you are the shadow of the Jedi Covenant, its finest agent. Now his noble spirit resides within this gauntlet. Darth Malthael revealed, casting a spellbinding tale. Overwhelmed, Celeste Morn struggled with the realization. The burden of being possessed by Carnsmore, a Sith Lord, had already been a source of great distress. Now, confronted with the complex situation of the Galactic Republic's peril, she began to waver. Seizing the moment, Darth Malthael continued, The amulet is in your possession, and you know it has little effect on me. The choice is yours to use its power as you see fit. All it takes is one action to utterly destroy Carnsmore. No, don't fall for his deceit. Would you really trust the words of a Sith? There's no Darth Sidious, no president of the Galactic Council. It's all a fabrication. Carnsmore protested weakly. Aren't you a Sith as well? Darth Malthael retorted, taken aback. Celeste Morn, exerting all her strength to resist Carnis's influence, demanded, You claim to have seen Master Lucien. Where's your proof? Before she could receive an answer, she looked up to see an elderly figure standing beside Darth Malthael. His eyes were covered with cloth strips, and his face bore the marks of time and fatigue. Yet the white robe adorned with gold trim he wore proclaimed his identity, Lucien Dre, the last leader of the Jedi Covenant. Lu, Master Lucien. Celeste Morn's strength left her, and she fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry. I failed. I couldn't destroy Celeste Morn's revelation of her actions on Jabal, driven by the overwhelming power of Mor's amulet, shattered her mental defenses. Amidst the chaos of the battlefield, she broke down, confessing to Lucien Dare how she had annihilated millions in a desperate attempt to save Alderaan, the Republic, and the galaxy itself. Her tears flowed freely as she grappled with the gravity of her actions, seeking solace in her intent to protect, despite the catastrophic outcome. Lucien Dare, embodying a calm amidst the storm, placed a comforting hand on Celeste's head. You succeeded, Morn. You've ensured that no Mandalorian crusader will threaten Ord Mantell again. We've won. The Galactic Republic stands, and the galaxy remains intact, he reassured her, his voice a balm to her tormented soul. However, their moment of vulnerability was interrupted by Carnismore's fury. Enraged and desperate, he unleashed a barrage of lightning at Talim, his disdain for Celeste's breakdown palpable. Despite his spectral form, Lucien's presence unnerved Carnismore, who felt exposed under the gaze of those blindfolded eyes, sensing a depth of spirit that left him feeling transparent and vulnerable. Carnismore's commands fell on deaf ears as Celeste, overwhelmed by her guilt and grief, remained prostrate before Lucien, unresponsive to the battle raging around her. Darth Marthel seized this opportunity, advancing towards Carnsmore with a determination that spelled doom for the latter. In a desperate bid for survival, Carnismore attempted to hide within Celeste, restraining his power to avoid detection. But Darth Marthel, quick to act, tackled Celeste to the ground, tearing away her breastplate to expose her vulnerable form beneath. Despite Celeste's feeble attempts at resistance, Talim's intervention rendered her powerless. Darth Marthel, seizing the moment, channeled a potent force of death into his hands and pressed it firmly against Celeste's abdomen, a decisive move that could alter the course of the battle. Vol 2, Chapter 1042, The Good Governor, Part 1. Celeste Mon was seething with rage, yet found herself powerless to resist. She could only watch in horror as Darth Martha Yener pressed against her lower abdomen. A chilling sensation quickly spread throughout her body, causing her to shiver uncontrollably. A layer of frost began to form on her skin as if she was being encased in ice. From her abdomen, a series of curses and wails emerged, growing fainter and weaker until they vanished entirely. By then, Celeste Morn had lost consciousness, her body frozen solid, nearly transformed into an ice sculpture. Exhausted, Darth Martha Yener collapsed to the ground, gasping for air. "Put her in the stasis chamber, otherwise she'll die," he commanded. Without hesitation, Talim hoisted Celeste Morn's icy form into the stasis chamber and sealed the door shut. Darth Martha Yener muttered an incantation in the ancient Sith language, causing the edges of the chamber to glow with a golden light. Moments later, the chamber sealed completely, leaving no trace of a gap. "You've sealed Carnismore," Lucien Del Rey observed. "His dark side force is too powerful. I couldn't destroy him in one go, so I've temporarily confined it within Celeste's body," Darth Martha Yener explained. "Can't your power over death control Carnismore?" Lucien inquired. "It's ineffective unless I constantly maintain the realm of the dead," Darth Martha Yener admitted, finally managing to stand. "If Carnismore were willing to endure the torment of his own soul, perhaps I would be the first to falter. However, he lacks the resolve to face such a fate. He'd rather be imprisoned in a stasis chamber for millennia than face death." Lucien nodded. "His dark side force is indeed formidable, possibly the strongest in the galaxy at present. Yet, you've managed to contain him, which is impressive. Young Sith Lord, you might truly make a mark on this galaxy. So, what's your plan for him?" "A gradual erosion," Darth Martha Yener said with a sly grin. "His knowledge, his artifacts, will eventually become mine. No desire for his power? I have no need for it," Darth Martha Yener replied, his smile fading as he cast a thoughtful glance at Lucien before heading towards the spaceship. The Protoss transport ascended silently, disappearing into the sky. Planet Jabal was left in silence, the aftermath of the battle evident in the devastation that stretched over kilometers. The Geth's cruisers remained, with hundreds of small, insect-like ships buzzing around like worker bees, beginning the construction of a new structure. Not a home, but a cold, unfeeling factory. Inside the Protoss transport, Darth Martha Yener gazed out at the vast expanse of stars, lost in thought. The distant cosmos remained unchanged, the dark void sprinkled with countless stars. Behind them, the soft glow of planet Jabal faded, the spaceship moving further from the light and into the endless darkness. With a click, the shutters closed, severing the connection with the starry vista outside. Back at his desk, Volgograd Kanedi picked up his cold cup of coffee with a grimace. Displeased, he retrieved a small bottle of wine from his pocket, adding a splash to his coffee before giving it a stir. It was a poor substitute for a proper drink. Standing nearby was a woman in her 30s, her expression indifferent. She wore gold-rimmed glasses, a business suit, and a pencil skirt. The universal tool on her wrist projected a screen filled with data. Frowning, she remarked, "Your Excellency, the sector governor, if you truly wish to enjoy some wine, you might as well drink it straight and get some rest. You haven't slept well in 7 days." Kennedy chuckled, then inquired, "How's the situation on the planet Anaji?" The female adjutant adjusted her glasses. Kennedy said, "Essentially, if you're inclined to view the planet of Anji as a new member of the Galactic Republic, then you're not far off the mark. The Eru people have developed an almost fanatical desire to be part of the Galactic Republic, completely ignoring their previous disdain for the Republic and their desire for independence just 12 years ago." He reached for another half-smoked cigar on the table, and his adjutant promptly came over to light it for him. After taking a deep inhale, Kennedy exhaled a long stream of smoke before continuing. "It's not entirely their fault. Ever since their encounter with Tang Xiao, they've been overshadowed by a significant gap, transitioning from the dominant force in the model sector to mere vassals dependent on the fourth civilization for sustenance. It's highly unlikely they'll fully integrate, at least not within the next 50 years. The female adjutant shook her head. "Time is the only remedy we have. We can't justify the extermination of 8 billion Eru people, nor do we have the means to implement widespread brainwashing. Our only option is to gradually assimilate them. This is merely one of the many challenges posed by the early expansion efforts of the fourth civilization," Kennedy remarked, taking another puff of his cigar. "At least Tang Xiao has managed to maintain a relatively good relationship with the other races in this star sector. What's the situation with the humans on the planet Anji?" "Following your orders, they've surrendered. However, they've also concealed their military capabilities, ready to launch a counterattack at any moment," the adjutant reported. Kennedy shook his head. "There's no need for concern. If they've hidden their forces, the Eru people will undoubtedly uncover them. The Eru and the humans on Anji have reached a mutual understanding. Forcing their hand would only result in unnecessary bloodshed. If we don't conceal our forces, we lose any chance of reclaiming Anji," the adjutant pointed out. "Then we must find alternative solutions," Kennedy replied, extinguishing the remains of his cigar and placing it in the ashtray. "My approach differs from Tang Xiao's. He prioritizes outcomes above all else. I, however, believe the process is equally important. Without your leadership, the Kuna star cluster wouldn't have flourished as it has," the adjutant said earnestly. Her words were not mere flattery, but a genuine acknowledgement of his impact. "And without Tang Xiao, the fourth civilization would cease to exist. That's the fundamental difference between him and me," Kennedy mused with a smile. "For now, let's not stir trouble on Anji. Our focus remains on one thing: time. Please remember the first domain name of this book, website. For the fastest updates, visit the Apex Novel Network mobile version at website. Vol 2, Chapter 1043, The Wealthy Kuna Cluster." "Yes, time," the adjutant affirmed. "You mentioned that the Galactic Republic believes time is on their side, but in reality, time favors us," Volgograd Kennedy said, stroking his beard with a chuckle. "I am convinced that in the battle for the Iliadu Galaxy, we are destined to emerge victorious." He laughed heartily. Standing up, he approached the mirror to groom himself. He meticulously combed his beard, trimmed any uneven strands, and then, as he moved towards the door, his female adjutant was already there, holding out his dark blue army coat, which she draped over his shoulders with precision. "This planet, the Fang of Kuna, should also fall under our control. The rest I leave in your capable hands," Volgograd Kennedy stated solemnly. "The Republic's commander-in-chief is Master Yoda. At the very least, he won't make things too difficult for you." "My concerns aren't about this place. They're about you," the female adjutant expressed with worry. "The Republic's fleet far surpasses ours, and yet you've declined reinforcements from Dawn Planet. It's akin to a suicide mission." As she spoke, she handed him a large-brimmed military hat, which he placed on his head, straightening up. Reflected in the mirror was the image of a dignified general, his gaze unwavering. "Refusing reinforcements is the greatest favor I can do for Tang Xiao, and what he offers in return is time," he stated, pointing to the half-smoked cigar beside the ashtray. "Keep this for me. It seems I won't have the chance to enjoy it for some time. I'll have to indulge once I return." Yes, Your Excellency the Sector Governor. I'll safeguard your cigars, the female adjutant replied, saluting with utmost precision. And my vodka. Volgograd Kennedy added before stepping through the office door, where a group of fully armed soldiers awaited him. Unlike the predominantly human Fourth Civilization Army, this diverse group comprised various races, a testament to unity in diversity. Yet what they all shared was a resolute determination in their eyes. The Kuna star cluster, located in the western outer periphery of the Milky Way within the Zuma star area of the Western Model region, was first discovered by the Eru people. They named the 5 interconnected galaxies after a mythical beast from their home planet of Maya Corvier: the Eye of Kuna, the Fang of Kuna, Kuna's tail, Kuna's fist, and Kuna's horn. The proximity of these galaxies, no more than 1 parsec apart, ensures stable hyperspace navigation between them, a notable feature in the otherwise chaotic model star region. Astronomers from Eru believe the Kuna cluster originated from the same nebula over 10 billion years ago. An extraordinary event split this nebula into 5, leading to the formation of 5 planetary systems, each with its own star. This division was caused by a supergiant comet that collided with the nebula, scattering it. The largest planet in the Kuna's Horn galaxy, named after the cluster, is believed to have formed from the material captured by the comet post-collision. This planet, over 20,000 kilometers in diameter, holds a wealth of secrets at its core, believed to be the remnants of the comet itself. Eru scientists have long speculated about these mysteries, even considering the drastic measures destroying the planet to study its core, should they ever possess the necessary resources. The stars in the Horn of Kuna galaxy, enriched by the nebular material from the collision, are massive and age rapidly, adding another layer of intrigue to the cluster's history. The galaxies they ventured into were akin to red giant stars, rendering them perilous and inhospitable for any form of biological life. Among these, the Eye of Kuna galaxy stood out, having endured a cataclysmic impact that set it ablaze, spinning for billions of years. Over 2 billion years ago, a new star was born within this galaxy, radiating a brilliant blue hue indicative of its extreme temperature, hence the name Kuna's Eye. This star, still in the throes of its formation, continues to draw in new material, suggesting it may take anywhere from hundreds of millions to over 1 billion years to settle into a stable pale yellow state. The Eye of Kuna galaxy is littered with asteroid belts, and it hosts a singular planet engulfed in lava, marked by constant volcanic activity, rendering it utterly unsuitable for life. However, this young galaxy is rich in rare minerals, easily accessible for mining. Were it not for its remote location, unknown to many mining corporations, it could have been one of the most renowned mining sites in the galaxy. It's worth noting that in the original storyline, the Galactic Empire chose this location to mine resources for the construction of the Death Star II. The remaining galaxies, Kuna's tail, Kuna's fist, and Kuna's tooth, feature more common planetary systems. The largest habitable planet within these is found in the Kuna Fang system, which became the first landing site for Volgograd Kennedy's colonization group, and now serves as the administrative center of his governorship. Following the war with the Eru people, Volgograd Kennedy embarked on a mission to recruit war refugees from across the galaxy, receiving significant support from Claire Underwood, the wife of Francis Underwood. The Outer Rim Mutual Aid Fund, spearheaded by Claire, focused on aiding struggling planets in the Outer Rim, initially aiming to consolidate and distribute resources within these star systems. However, as Count Dooku's separatist movement gained momentum, the fund became a crucial element in his strategy, allowing Claire Underwood to establish herself as the administrator of the Confederation of Independent Systems on the subplanet of Laxus. Claire leveraged her influence to facilitate migration to the Kuna star cluster, notably during famines on Rhodia and Jabim, where she relocated hundreds of millions under the guise of pioneering and employment opportunities. Volgograd Kennedy, deeply committed to land reclamation, treated these settlers with equality and respect, a rare stance in the Outer Rim, where the slave trade flourished. Many prospered through their efforts in reclamation, returning to their homelands wealthier, while others, having built new lives, chose to stay. As conflict looms, The population of Kuna's teeth has grown to over 500 million, with projections suggesting it could reach 3 billion in the next 5 years, thanks to policies promoting fertility and immigration.